27-year-old Richard Martinico is suing former friend, 23-year-old waitress Wendy Lane, for a $1,500 loan. Wendy says Richard gave her the money.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 38 on the calendar in the matter of Martinico versus Lane. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Martinico, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $1,500. The defendant acknowledges that you gave her $1,500, but she said it was a gift and you're becoming a pain. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me how you know her and how it came about that you gave her this money.
Okay, Your Honor, I've known Wendy Lane for approximately 2 years through the restaurants that she worked at. She worked at 3 different restaurants. I met her at the one in Warren originally.
So you were a customer?
Yes, and then we became friends, and she started coming over, and I've seen her a few times.
Coming over where?
My house.
Okay. When did she start to come over to your house?
I would say in February.
February of this year?
Of 2001.
We're in 2002 now, sir.
I'm a little nervous. 2002, yes.
Okay.
2002.
And when did you give her the money?
In February.
Tell me the circumstances, sir, of you giving her the money.
Okay, she said she had to move out of her mother's house, that her mother was putting locks on the doors, and she had to get out that night, and she wanted to get her own place, needed a down payment, $1,500.
Where was she and where were you when she told you that, sir?
She was in the restaurant. Then she came over to my house, and I tried to avoid her that day. I went riding around for an hour and a half, and she said she waited in my driveway for an hour and a half because I didn't want to give her that money, loan her that money. That was a lot of money to loan, and I didn't really believe her. But, you know, I had the feelings for her, and I have the proof that I withdrew $1,500.
She doesn't say that you didn't give her the money, sir. That's not her defense.
It was a loan.
Well, do you have any proof that it was a loan?
Just that I took the money out.
Well, we know that you took the money out because she acknowledges that she received it. So you're telling me that she was waiting for you in the driveway?
Yeah, I was trying to avoid her so I wouldn't be the nice guy and give her the money, you know, loan her the money.
Then you went home and found her in your driveway?
Yes.
And what happened next?
She came in and we talked and I loaned her the money and she said she would pay me back weekly.
Just a minute. So you had gone to the bank before you came home?
No, I had got this money like a week or so before I even loaned her the money.
So you were prepared. You had this $1,500 prepared to give to her.
To loan her.
Listen to me. You had this $1,500 prepared to give to her at least a week in advance.
Yeah, because she had asked me.
Listen, sir, you really can't think that fast. You understand? I know you think you can, but you can't. So you already had the amount of money that she requested a week in advance of her coming to your house, according to you, and waiting for you in the driveway.
Right, because she had been asking me.
I understand. And you had it all ready. So according to you, you weren't sure whether you wanted to do it because it was a lot of money.
Right.
Right. Now I got it. Okay. So you gave her the $1,500 when she was at your house. Is that what you're saying?
I ended up loaning it to her, yes.
Listen to my question. At your house, you gave her the $1,500.
Yes.
Did you see her after you gave her the money?
No, she told me she would call me that night and let me know where she moved. I never heard anything, so I got suspicious and, you know, thinking, okay, she just used me, which I had the suspicions because I had given her gifts before, but this was a loan. And she said she would call me, let me know where she moved, so she never did. So I went up to the restaurant where she worked at that time, and she told me she didn't want to see me anymore and she didn't owe me anything. And I gave her a videotape back that she had gave me.
Excuse me, Your Honor, that is not true.
You'll get your turn in a minute.
And that was that. Never heard from her. Then I asked her, did you move out of your mother's house? She said no.
Okay.
That was the idea of getting the loan.
What was the repayment arrangement that you made with her?
She said she'd pay me $20 a week, whatever she could pay me weekly. And like I said, I never heard anything.
All right, Miss Lane, it's your turn.
I've been waitressing since I was 14 years old. I'm 23 now. About 6 years ago, I met him. He was a regular in our restaurant. He had an elderly friend that used to come in with him.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
I don't want to hear you interrupt her.
He would have decaf coffee, and his elderly friend.
Can we get there, please?
Sure, I would have his table set up for him.
Can we get there, please?
He given me gifts, 2 necklaces, teddy bears, candy, every time he seen me in the restaurant.
Okay.
He would come and see me in the restaurant 3 times a day.
So you realized he was smitten with you?
Right.
For how long have you known that he was smitten with you?
Few years.
And when he gave you these gifts, necklaces, teddy bears, whatever, you thanked him?
Correct.
And you took them?
Correct.
Did it ever occur to you that that wasn't a smart thing to do?
I didn't want to feel as if I didn't want to be rude to him, you know what I mean?
All right. So you accepted the gifts.
Exactly.
Now let's get to the money.
I mentioned to him that I wanted to pay my car off, and I wanted to move out of my mother's house.
Where were you when you mentioned this to him?
All American.
At a place where you worked?
Restaurant, yes.
Yes.
And a couple days later, he said that he would give me the money because he was a friend, and he needed a friend, I needed a friend, and he was going to help me out.
Mm-hmm.
He called me up and told me to come over and pick up the money, which I did come there, and I did receive the money. And he's told me to call him, and I said, okay, I will. 2 days later, he came into the restaurant, threw my video at me, made a big scene in my restaurant. My boss got very upset about that, and he said, well, where are you moving to? And I said, well, I was thinking about moving up north by my sister's house. He was all red in the face, big-eyed like he was like on drugs or something. He got very upset about it and left. Which, mind you, he wanted a relationship with me, wanted me to move in with him.
Had he mentioned that to you before he gave you the money?
Yes.
He had?
He mentioned it to me quite a few times.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You try to do the right thing. Maybe you can change. If not, you'll grow up and you'll have the same kind of amoral adulthood as you have had as a teenager and young adult. And if you don't understand it, then you didn't raise her right. It's partially your fault.
And later today,
Look at me. I mean, you're making a whole big story. Did you sell the table for $100?
No.
How much did you get for the table?
Not anything. Nothing.
When you can't look at me in the eye and tell me the story, that means that you're lying.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 47-year-old Richard Martinico says former friend 23-year-old Wendy Lane refuses to pay back a loan. Wendy says Richard wants a relationship.
I am ready to make my decision. The legal decision, Miss Lane, is in your favor.
Okay.
But not the moral one. Is this person related to you?
This is my mother.
All right. I assume that your mother knows that you didn't do the right thing. Quiet. When a young woman knows that a man is acting like a jerk, she doesn't encourage him. So your baloney that you accepted the necklaces and the teddy bears and the other gifts because you didn't want to make him feel badly, you didn't want to be rude, is a lot of baloney. Do you understand me? To top that off, you were aware of the fact, according to you, that he wanted more of a relationship with you. According to you, he mentioned it to you several times, many times, at every place that you worked. So instead of maintaining a professional relationship with him, you took advantage of him by being an amoral young lady. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Put your hand down. Amoral. You didn't do the right thing. When somebody that you're not interested in at all shows you signs of affection or tries to buy your affection, the moral thing to do is to say, I'm really not interested. I think you're a very nice man, but I would prefer to stay with people my own age. I have a boyfriend. I'm not interested in you that way. And I certainly wouldn't take any money from you. You asked him for money. I've read your answer. You told him you needed money because you wanted to pay off your car and move away from your mother's house.
Correct.
That's not a business relationship. You got me?
Yes.
You try to do the right thing. You're still young enough. Maybe you can change. If not, you'll grow up and you'll have the same kind of amoral adulthood as you have had as a teenager and young adult. Amoral. And if you don't understand it, then you didn't raise her right. It's partially your fault. Your case is dismissed. You were an old fool. It cost you $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I told him I did not want no relationship with him. I was not looking for one.
There was a relationship.
I have a boyfriend that I've been with for 9 years of my life.
We were intimate.
Take a look at my daughter and take a look at that.
She did lead me on.
Why would there even be a relationship? He's kind of old.
I have a nice, very pretty 29-year-old girlfriend now. I have a picture of her in my pocket.
Why would he want to pursue a little girl?
I'm talking now, please.
You are sick.
I am not sick.
He needed a friend. I needed a friend. That's how it was.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Froberg versus Gatewood. Step forward, please.
Registered nurse Kathy Froberg is suing her ex-boyfriend, artist Silas Gatewood, for the return or the value of a kitchen table. Silas says the table was worth $20.
All right. The case is not a very difficult one, except for certain time frames, which I think will be dispositive of how this case goes. Ms. Froberg, the defendant was your boyfriend for
That's
a while.
correct.
And he also has some talent with regard to fixing things artistically. You had an old table, not worth very much.
No.
Small table, sat 4 people.
That's correct.
And the defendant, at some point in the relationship, said, I want to paint something on this table. I want to create a piece for you. And he took the table, and he did. Painted a scene on the table, and it took you quite some time to do that. Is that right?
That's right, correct.
And you brought the table back ultimately months later, and you liked the table, but you
I loved
noticed
it.
that your artwork was not perfect. There were some bubbles in the finish. So you said, let me take it back, and I want to fix it up, make it perfect for you.
Correct.
So far, correct? See how good you were in preparing your papers? He took the table back, and at some point, the two of you parted your ways. Now you want your table back. Defendant says you waited a very long time, and he ultimately gave the table away, or sold it. I don't know which one. Did you give it away or sell it?
Basically gave it away.
No. Mr. Gatewood, basically...
There was no money exchanged hands. I gave
Did
it
you
away.
barter it for something else?
I re-gifted it.
What do you mean you regifted it? What does that mean?
Well, I gave it to a friend who ultimately said, where's this table going? I said, it's Kathy's table. She's not coming to get it. And he said, can I have it? And I jokingly said, she owes me there's a $100 discrepancy here. She's not coming forward with the $100. I said, you can pay me or give me a,
Look at
$100.
me. I mean, you're making a whole big story. Did you sell the table for $100?
No.
Did you get $100 for the table?
No.
How much did you get for the table?
Not anything. Nothing.
Well, then where were we going with this $100?
And Your Honor...
Shut up, but just a minute. Mr. Gatewood, please. I have limited patience. Bird has less. When you can't look at me in the eye and tell me the story, that means that you're lying.
Okay.
Okay? So I want to know, regifted, she owed me $100. What was exchanged for the table?
Nothing.
So what were you starting to tell me the story about $100?
Basically, he was going to fix a window for me. That was basically a trade. I said, if I give you this table, could you fix a couple windows? And he agreed. So I got a window repair.
So you bartered
Bartered, yes.
for the table?
Your Honor, may I speak?
Not yet.
Okay, thank
Now I want some dates from you, Ms. Froberg. In what month and year did you give the table to Mr. Gatewood to create
In the
this
year
masterpiece?
2001, in June.
And when did he return the table to you?
August.
Is that correct so far, Mr. Gatewood?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how long did you keep the table in your house before you took it back to fix the bubbles?
About a month.
So far, correct.
correct.
And when did you and the defendant part social company?
End of October of 01.
And when, for the first time, did you ask him for the table?
After we broke up finally. I asked him
Which
for the
was
table.
when?
I asked him in November of 01. And my mother asked him as well.
And what did he say?
He spoke with my mother. He returned my call and spoke with my mother in November and said that he had been offered $1,000 for the table.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Froberg says ex-boyfriend Silas Gatewood refuses to return her kitchen table. Silas says after it sat in his house for 5 months, he bartered it.
Okay. Did you ever have a conversation with the plaintiff's mother?
Yes, I did.
Is this your mom?
This is my mother,
Could you
Dolores.
step up here, please? What is your last name?
Voris.
Ms. Voris, you had a conversation with the defendant. Tell me about that conversation. He returned the call that your daughter had placed to him.
Yes.
You answered the phone.
Yes, and I asked him, since Thanksgiving was coming, if we could have the table back, since I was having a lot of company and I needed it as a work area in the kitchen. And he proceeded to tell me his complaints about Kathy and different things that had happened and gone on. And I said, well, you know, you have to take that up with Kathy, but in the meantime, I'd like to have the table back. We've got the 4 chairs sitting in the kitchen with no table in there.
It's a playground for the cats.
Okay.
So I listened for about 45 minutes, and there was one particular instance that he brought up, something about she borrowed money from him and never paid it back. And I said, well, you have to, again, take that up with her. I don't know anything about that. The only thing I know about is the table.
And he said?
He said, all right, I'll talk to Kathy. And we never got the table
So that was the extent of the conversation.
on that date.
Did
But
you
I
ever
talked
have
to him.
another conversation with
Right.
him? When?
At about Christmas, I called again and said, please, you know, Kathy didn't want to talk to him because she said, I don't want to get aggravated during the holidays. And I said, well, I have no animosity toward him. I'll talk to him and ask him if we can't get this settled. At least be friends. They've been friends for 12 years, and all of a sudden now this is a no speaking situation. And so I called him again, and he told me that she really yelled at him after a certain episode that took place at their house, and that he had never been talked like that before in his life. And we never really discussed the table after my initially asking him for the table back. It always got back off onto Kathy. So we didn't get the table again.
Did you ever speak to him after that?
Yes, January and February.
Was the table the subject of those two
Yes.
conversations?
Yeah.
Do you remember anything about those two conversations?
Just basically the same thing, and he would complain about Kathy again.
Okay. That's it? Thank you. When did you barter the table for the windows, and what month?
About a month and a half ago.
What month?
It was March.
Well, Mr. Gatewood, you explain to me why, after the plaintiff and or her mother discussed with you in October, November, December, January, and February, asked for the return of this table, why in March did you feel as if you had the right to barter this table to somebody else?
It had been left at my house for 5 months.
She asked for it.
She owed me $100. I said, when you pay me the $100 that you borrowed, you could have the table. I said, I'm holding the table for $100 since our relationship is over with. Just give me the $100, come get the table. It's as simple as that.
No. You know why it's not simple, Mr. Gatewood? Let me explain to you why it's not simple. Because you made a gift to her. You were merely putting the final touches on this gift to her. You have no right to sell, which is what you did, sell her property. Whether you do it by way of barter or cash, the bottom line is the same. This way, you didn't pay the tax man, you just bartered property. You had absolutely no right to do that, sir. None. Now, the only issue is the value of the table. Now, Ms. Froberg, I would like you to tell me how you value this table. It was an old table. It had probably no value on its own unless you count what he did to the table as adding to its value,
I do, Your
which
Honor.
you have to. So now you have a table with certain enhanced value, but I don't know how to put a price on it.
He said he was offered $1,000 for it.
When did he say he was offered $1,000?
When
You told that to your mother, but she didn't mention that to me.
He said it to me as well in November.
I want you to tell me, Mr. Gatewood, and be very careful because I'm going to, if I have a mind to, check on this. I want you to tell me about the windows that this gentleman took care of for you in exchange for the table. Describe the windows.
It was a sliding window. A screen. He fixed the screen. Basically, he fixed the screen.
You know, I don't believe a word you say to me. Basically, screen is not a window and then a couple
Well,
of
it's a window screen. He installed it years and years ago. The screen had broken, and he says, I'll fix it for you. The table sat there for months. So it just sat there.
Forget the table. I've already determined that you did the wrong thing when you gave
Okay,
me
yes,
part
Your
of the
Honor, I
table.
did.
I asked you about the windows. Now you come to screens. That's why I don't believe you, sir.
Well, it's a
I want you
window
to tell
screen.
What did he do? Did he put a patch in the window for a nickel?
The screen was warped where the window was, and he repaired the window, or the screen part of the window.
That's one window. You said a couple of windows.
No. Just one. I said, the table's worth
Look, you
more
can't
than one.
even look at me. You can't even look at me. You're looking over at the carpet. What's
Okay,
the
I'm
problem
sorry,
with
I'm
looking
sorry,
at
Your
me?
Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Thank you,
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 252 on the calendar in the matter of Blush, Journey, Watson versus Owens. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Watson, would you step up, please? According to your complaint, you entered into a contract with the defendant to buy a home. That was about 4 years ago. Is that right?
That is correct.
And the agreement was that you would pay the mortgage on the house plus an additional amount each month. And when the mortgage was paid off, the house would be yours.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And according to you, you lived there as good renters to own
That's correct.
for 4 years. And for no reason, the defendant locked you out of the house, took your property, and you are suing her for the property that she retains, that it belongs to you. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
The defendant says that you breached the contract that you entered into with her, and that she has your property, it is in storage, you can have your property back when you pay the storage fees. And she is counterclaiming for the storage fees that she's paid thus far, and for damages that she alleges that you did to the house. Correct?
Correct.
When were you locked out of the house?
The 10th of September, Your Honor.
Tell me the circumstances, sir. How did you find out you were locked out of the house?
My father-in-law, actually my stepfather, he was checking on the house as he normally does, Your Honor, and he noticed a locksmith.
Where were you?
I was at work at the time, Your Honor.
Had you been living in the house?
We had not. We had already moved at that point.
Why did you move?
We had moved because of the fact that for several months before we had moved, the defendant, Your Honor, had made it unbearable to live there. She was calling CPS on us.
Child Protective Services.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Yes.
She was in our business, making it to the point where we could not live there anymore.
All three of you lived in the house?
No, Your Honor.
Who lived in the house?
Me and the plaintiff right here, Afton Journey.
And you have children?
Yes, and my daughter, Dakota.
When did you physically move out of the house?
We physically moved out about a month prior to
Give me the date, please. Date, year.
June 24th of this year, Your Honor.
And when did you ascertain that the locks had been changed in the house?
That was on the 10th of September.
Between June 24th, when you moved out of the house, and September 10th, had you paid the mortgage?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
Had you paid her money, June, July, and August?
We have, Your Honor, yes.
Okay. Is there any dispute as to
They
that?
didn't pay the portion to my contract. They paid the finance company the amount that was less than was due. The amount owed is $465. They were paying $450 and had been paying $450 for the 19 months prior to that.
Okay. How much were you supposed to get each month?
A minimum of $190 a month. The last payment I received is in May.
You have any proof after May that you gave her the money that you were supposed to
We
give?
were not able to obtain that, Your Honor, in time before this courtroom.
No. Don't baloney me. If you have everything else, then you have that. I mean, your whole claim is that you did nothing wrong and she locked you out of the house. Is that right?
That's correct.
So don't give me baloney. So you did not pay her the $190 for June, July, and August. Is that right? Answer the question.
We did, Your Honor.
If I might interject, Your Honor, Leanna was getting $500 a month from us.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not think that she would dispute that because at about...
Just a minute, $500 a month including the mortgage?
Absolutely, because...
Just a minute. Well, $500 including the mortgage does not give her what you contractually agreed to give her. What you contractually agreed to give her was the mortgage plus $190 a month. So you weren't giving her what she was supposed to get, is my question.
Yes, we were giving her... She came to me about 6 months ago and said that we were not making... The payments were like $465. I have an escrow on another house that was going directly to hers, which apparently was not enough. So she said that we were not paying enough.
Don't try to confuse me.
No.
I'm not talking about the bank money. Whether you were $15 short over the course of 18 months is very possible. I'm talking about the $190 that you were supposed to give to her every month. And you're telling me that you gave it to her.
Absolutely.
Well, then you should be able to show me bank statements that show a check made out to her or a statement made out to her for $190 each month. You don't have that. No. So she had an absolute right to lock you out of the house. Period. You weren't paying pursuant to the contract. Now, when you locked them out of the house, what property was in the house that belonged to them?
Your Honor, I have a videotape of what was in the property in the house at the time.
I object to this, Your Honor.
Object to what?
She could have taken out the property that was already there and then videotaped. She broke a window to get into our house.
It was videotaped from the moment we entered the door, everything. I wish you could get this in smell-o-vision to get the full impact of this house.
Nice front yard. Gee, wouldn't you like to be able to come home to this every day? This is actually better than it has been. Entrance in the house now. This is again the same date.
That's what I went into.
It's our house.
Garbage. Well, clothes. One man's garbage is another man's, who knows. Chair. The smell in here is just, oh. They never open their doors. 2 tables. I guess that's the way to do it. Just bring the dumpster in the house, huh? They got a cat a couple of months ago and you can smell it. It's nauseating.
It was bad.
There's a love seat. I guess this is...
Shut up.
I guess this is how you store your valuable personal property. Not. There's a dresser, a love seat, 3 tables. Hasn't been opened. Oh yeah, she always would order from those clubs and then not pay them.
Might I add, Your Honor, that I filmed the window, everything, from the moment we broke the window to get in. It was all on tape prior to this.
What property, Mr. Blush, do you say was in the house that she has?
We had, I have a list of here.
I'd like to take a look at it, sir.
Yeah.
That one's handwritten.
By the way, when you moved out on June 24th, where did you go?
We moved into a trailer, Your Honor, in Milton, Freewater, Oregon.
That you were renting?
No.
No, we were buying that as well.
You bought it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how large a trailer?
It's a single-wide, 2-bedroom.
What did you leave clothes there for?
Because we just left some of the clothes. It was our house, Your Honor.
No, don't give me baloney.
What?
I asked you, what did you leave your clothes there for?
Because there were just extra clothes we didn't need. We took what we needed.
Right, for 2 months. When you move out 2 months, you take everything that you want, especially if you're moving into something that you buy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ron Blush, his fiancée Afton Journey, and his mother, Betty Watson, are suing Ron's cousin, Leanna Owens. The plaintiffs claim Leanna locked them out of their rented home. Leanna is countersuing, claiming Ron and Afton trashed the place.
Sentimental keepsake collectibles. Irreplaceable. Like what?
Knickknacks. Things that I had done in grade school that my mother had kept for me.
Why didn't you take them?
We moved into a smaller place, Your Honor, and could not take everything we owned at the time. And seeing how we were buying the house, and it was ours at the time, we did not take...
No, it wasn't. You weren't paying for it.
Yes.
No, you weren't paying for it. All you paid was the mortgage. And you weren't paying her any money. Show me the proof that you paid the mortgage. Show me proof that you paid the mortgage.
Right there.
These are the ones that...
No. Show me proof that you paid the mortgage June, July, and August. June, July, and August is what I want to see.
You didn't bring that.
Okay.
There's one check. Check those, Your Honor.
Yes.
I think they're the very last ones.
That's all. I just want to see June, July, and August. These are copies of your checks.
Yes, and
Okay.
the other ones are that I was paying Leanna is from a different bank, and you know, I do have one of them.
Would you show it to me, please?
Absolutely. I have this one, Your Honor, because when she went to deposit it, I think she put it in her boyfriend's name or something, and they wouldn't take it because of the endorsement. And so on the back of it, I just had Leanna write where I just paid her
This
cash.
is March 15th of the year 2000.
Yes.
I'm talking about June, July, and August of 2001. Yeah, you don't have them.
Yeah, you're right. We don't have it.
So what are you giving me this for?
Well, I didn't
What are you
realize
wasting
what the date on that was.
So what did you, when you looked at it, what did you hand it to me for?
I
Did you think I would look at it?
Yeah, I knew you would look at it, Your Honor.
Nonsense. What stuff do you have in storage of theirs?
I have a list of items that was in storage.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. And I have
Is
photographs
this-
from the city
Is
prior
it-
to this.
Just a second.
Here's the receipt for the storage rental and the list of contents.
Okay. Did you pack up the boxes? It says 14 boxes of miscellaneous papers.
Yes, ma'am.
You packed them.
Yes, ma'am. They were on the floor, and I didn't throw anything away because who knows, they might want it.
Okay. And how much is owed for storage?
It's not that much. It's like $36.
Okay, and you have no objection to releasing this as soon as they pay you $36?
No, ma'am, not at all. In
Perfect.
fact, my attorney gave their attorney the key
Perfect.
27th.
Good. So you get all the stuff that's back right in here. All you have to do is pay $36.
Your Honor, I'd like
case
to
is
show
over.
you,
Your part of the case is over.
yes, ma'am.
She packed up your junk. She put it in storage. It's all here, whatever you want. Because as far as I'm concerned, when people move out of a house for 2 months and they move into another house, then what they do is they take their most valuable stuff first. They take their precious pictures, they take their irreplaceable knickknacks, they take their computers, they take their jewelry, they take everything else. And the crap, they leave and they say, well, we'll come back and look through that stuff again. Maybe we'll want it, maybe we'll want it, but we don't want it. But you don't move into a 2-bedroom place and leave all your valuables behind. So that's crock. She's got your stuff. You can have all the stuff that's on this list. Now, I'm going to get to the counterclaim.
Your Honor, if I may, this is from the storage unit. When they put our stuff in, there was no lock on the door. When we went to, her notice here, if you'll look at it, says the storage unit has the key. When we went there, he didn't have a key, and he said that he could cut the lock off because she did put it in our name. When we went there, there was no lock on it. If you could just look at this, you know, maybe.
I'll look at anything you like.
Yeah, we need to check.
What is this?
That is what Leanna gave us after she went
Sold
in.
our stuff.
Yeah, it's.
We're not even tenants.
No, I was a landlord for a lot of years.
Just one second. All I'm asking you is about the storage unit. Is your stuff in storage or not?
No, ma'am. There was nothing there. When I went there, the man, that is the man that runs the storage unit. He said she left no key.
To whom it may concern, there has never been a lock on mini storage unit 429 since it was rented. So.
Well, I'm just telling you, what she took out of there never made it to the storage unit.
Did
There's
you put it in the
nothing
storage
there.
unit?
I did.
There
Judy
was
can
no
verify
lock
that.
on it.
Did you go into the storage unit?
Absolutely. The man went with me because he was going to unlock it. He was going to cut the lock off. When we got there was no lock on it. And when we opened it, when he raised it, there's nothing there, Your Honor. You know, what?
Then I think you probably should sue him.
She didn't put the lock on it, Your
Yes,
Honor.
I think you
She
probably
never
should.
locked it up.
I think you probably should sue him.
She never
Not
locked it.
sue them. She has a contract that says paid. They were paid in cash. If you think that there was stuff in there that they failed to safeguard, sue them. You didn't pay her rent. After 2 months, she had perfect right to evict you and do whatever she wanted with the junk that you left behind.
It wasn't
You're suing her
rent.
for
We were buyers, Your Honor.
You're suing her for $5,000. You didn't have $5,000 worth of junk that you left behind. It's ridiculous. Let's move on to your counterclaim. How much should it cost you to clean up the house?
I have an estimate from a local company to clean it. It's for $6,000 for just cleaning. First, would you like to see some pictures the city sent to me?
Yes.
And the code violations outside the house that I had to clean up?
No, she doesn't see it. She says it's a rental.
It's not a rental. We got proof.
I know.
Is this a picture of your house?
After she took all the stuff and threw it on the lawn, yes.
Yes, yes. That stuff was in the house.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
The city has that date at the bottom of that picture. ma'am.
829. 829 is, if I learned my math, is before September 10th, when somebody said that there was you found a lock off the house. And this is 9/4, September 4th.
Who dated those?
The city.
Those are after we moved, Your Honor. We moved in June.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand that. And what you're telling me is you left all this valuable property in this very neat house that you left in June.
We were there the day before she broke in, Your Honor, to
Yes, we
remove
were.
some property. My grandmother
We'd
went
been
with
there.
us. We were still moving out and trying to put stuff in storage as we went through it and get that place ready for a rental.
We were going to rent it out, Your Honor. It's our house.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's not a rental, Your Honor. This is agreement for sale.
I understand what you're saying, sir. It's an agreement for sale if you comply with the conditions of the contract. Conditions of the contract are that you pay the mortgage directly to the mortgage company, which you had not done because you were paying less than the mortgage each month. You were paying $450 according to the checks that you gave me. You were paying $450, and in addition, from the time you moved out until September, you have absolutely no proof that you paid her the $190 that you contracted for. So you breached the contract. Okay. This is from the city of Walla Walla, Washington, I assume.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is dated August 31st of 2001. It's from the city that tells the owner of this property that they have to take care of the following things because they are in violation of city code. That is, weeds in yard 2 to 3 feet high, existence of junk, litter, and refuse, furniture and computer equipment on the sidewalk, planting strip area closed, cardboard, garbage cans, bottles, cords, fishing pole, plumbing fixtures, appliances, and it says that all junk and litter on the planting strip and sidewalk shall be removed by September 4th, and that you have to comply with the ordinance within 10 days of this letter. And if you fail to do it, carries a monetary penalty of $500 for each day the violations continue to exist.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So how much did it cost you to clean up the junk?
So far, just to do the front yard and haul out probably...
No, I want to see.
Oh, here, I have that now.
Show me.
Plus the pictures taken after their stuff was removed.
You're not going to get money for painting this house. You understand that? That's the big thing here. Because when somebody lives there 4 years,
that's fine.
You have to paint anyway. You want to sell it, you got to paint it. There was certainly a great deal of debris that I saw in the house and a great deal of cleaning. And probably it costs several $100s at least to clean up that mess.
The carpets have to be removed. The odor is...
Oh, there's no question about that. How much carpeting is there?
417 square feet.
Okay. Judgment of the court is as follows. On the counterclaim, I am awarding the defendant $2,500 for the purposes of cleaning up this mess, this disaster, and putting the house back in reasonable order, excluding the painting of the house, which you have to bear yourself. On the petitioner's claim, I am directing that the plaintiff may remove any and all property that is, in fact, a storage unit upon the payment of $36. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 273 on the calendar in the matter of Rosales versus McKean. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Rosales, according to your complaint, the defendant, who was your former boyfriend, and you went on a trip this past summer to Mexico.
Correct.
About a month afterwards, you broke up with, or he broke up with you. It was a mutual thing. I don't know. You broke up. And you claim that he still owes you for some expenses from the trip.
Correct.
He says he does not. How long were you away?
We were away for a month.
How could you get away for a month? You have a good job?
No, I don't have a job. I just saved up money 2 years in advance, and I sold my stock to go on this trip.
Had you been working before you went on the trip?
Yes. My last job ended in November, but I'm a full-time student, so.
Were you working?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in retail management.
And you could take a month off from your job?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. What was the arrangement?
We were going to go away for 1 month, July 10th to August 8th, and I was going to bring my own money. He was going to bring his. I brought $1,000 in traveler's checks and $1,000 in cash. About a week prior to us leaving, he told me he wasn't going to have enough money, and he wanted to know if he could borrow my credit card. And I asked him how he was going to pay for it. He told me that he was going to sell his stock when he returned. I knew that his portfolio had more than max on my credit card, so I knew that he was good for that amount of money. I agreed. We went on the trip, and we pretty much paid for everything 50-50. For like hotels, I would pay for my half in cash. He would pay for his half on the credit card. Everything else was 50-50. We made a conscious effort to do it that way so we wouldn't take each other's money. We came back August 8th. A little bit afterwards, I asked him how his stock was doing. It dropped dramatically, and he told me that because his stock dropped, he didn't have enough money and he wasn't going to pay me.
No. Sarah had been begging me for the last year before we went on the trip. Please, babe, can we go on a trip? I just want to go somewhere this summer.
Don't get dramatic with me. Don't get dramatic.
Anyway, she knew that if I went on a trip for a month, I'd lose a month in pay from work. So before we went on the trip, she knew I couldn't afford...
Don't tell me what she knew. I want you to tell me what you talked about.
I was going to bring some of my own money and pay for whatever I could. And she'd take care of the rest because she knew I couldn't do it otherwise.
No, just a sec. There's a difference between what you believe she knew and what you discussed. Do you understand? So I want to know what discussion you say took place before you went with regard to using her credit card.
Well, it was her credit card, and I wasn't going to be paying for it.
It's a lie.
I was going to pay for whatever I could afford to pay for.
No.
Okay.
With the money I brought.
Don't speak. When did your money run out?
I'd say about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks into the trip.
That sounds unlikely, sir. That means that there were only a few days left that you relied on the credit card. Is that what you're saying?
Well, she was using the credit card.
Let us say you went to a hotel. You stayed in a hotel for 28 days, various hotels. How were the hotels paid for, Mr. McKeon?
I'd pay for what I could in cash, and she'd charge it on her credit card or pay for it in cash with her money.
So what you're telling me is the hotel bills were, for the most part, paid in cash?
No.
Shh. So how were they paid?
Well, some of it was paid for in cash.
Yes.
I don't really remember.
What about your meals, sir?
I paid for some of the meals and she paid for some of them.
Were any of the meals paid for with a credit card?
Yeah.
How did you contribute to those meals that were paid on the credit card?
Well, she would pay for those because I'd pay for a meal one day or for lunch, and she'd pay for a meal for dinner.
So what you're saying, Mr. McKean, is that for the vast majority of this trip, you paid your own way.
Yeah, definitely.
That's not what you say in your answer, Mr. McKean, that you signed and that you swore to. You said, I had very limited money. She really wanted to go and offered to pay for all the accommodations and any additional expenses incurred on the trip. All I could afford to pay for was my plane ticket and some spending money. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yeah, but...
Well, that's what you swore to, sir. And I assume that when you wrote this answer, you reflected on it, and in this answer you said you paid for your plane ticket and brought some spending money, but that she had agreed to pay for all of your accommodations and any other additional expenses on the trip. Now, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, that's true, Your Honor.
So you did not pay with your money for 3.5 weeks when you were on the trip. And then, as you just told me a moment ago, just a few days we used on her credit card. That wasn't true.
No, I helped out when
now
I
let me
could.
see. Now let me see your bills.
There's a breakdown, and also I have, this is one of the payments that was made. He made 2 payments to me. He made one payment to me of $40 so I could repay my mother back.
50.
Your Honor, that was
no,
just
and
to help
another
her
payment
out.
of,
I was just trying to help her
and
out.
another payment of $50 that I paid to the credit card.
Your Honor, she told me that after the trip, she'd get a part-time job and make payments on the credit card,
How
and it wouldn't
can
be
I
a
when
problem.
No, don't speak to him. I want to hear him. GB, I want to hear him. Go ahead, let me hear.
She told me that after the trip, she'd get a part-time job to cover the expenses, to pay the credit card debt off, and it wouldn't be a problem. And then when we got back, she started asking me for money. Please help me with this, you know, I can't afford to pay this. And I said, well, you were going to get a job.
How much do you earn at your job?
Approximately $800 a week.
You support anyone other than yourself?
No.
You have an apartment?
Yeah.
You pay rent?
Yeah, I have roommates, though.
Good. What's your share of the rent?
About $600.
I never heard anybody describe their rent as about $600.
You either know it or you don't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sarah Rosales says ex-boyfriend Sean McKean promised to pay his share of a month-long vacation in Mexico.
Go ahead.
My witness here, my roommate, she heard him say that he was going to pay for it.
He's going to pay for it. Go away on a vacation for a month. You don't go away with any money.
I did bring money.
Did you bring just a second, did you bring a credit card?
No.
Why not?
I don't have a credit card.
Why not?
I don't like credit cards.
What do you like?
I've run up debt before.
What?
I've just had bad experiences with credit cards. I don't like them.
You have stocks.
Yeah.
Stocks are good.
Not lately.
I understand that. So you don't like to sell the stocks when they're down, except when you owe money.
I don't owe money.
Yeah, you do.
Whatever.
Yeah, you do. But you have a problem, Ms. Rosales, and I'm going to tell you what your problem is. It's clear to me the following. You went away with $2,000. You say his portion of these bills, which total together are $3,300.
Correct.
That would mean that if you double that, it would be $6,600.
Yes, he also purchased things on my credit card just for himself. He bought himself a surfboard. When we went to Chichen Itza to climb the pyramids, he bought like $200 in souvenirs. I have a list of things that I know for sure that he bought for himself. He bought swim trunks. He bought just different things for himself that I didn't buy.
Did you buy anything on these credit cards, sir, just for your own personal use?
I bought a pair of swimming trunks, yeah.
What about a surfboard?
Yeah, I bought a surfboard because it would have been cheaper to buy a surfboard than rent one at the place we were at.
How much was it?
It was like $200.
No, it was $388.59. This is just of what I know that he bought for sure. There's other souvenirs that he has his whole room's full of souvenirs. I mean, he bought all of Mexico.
Well, on the credit card?
Yes, like he bought the surfboard at the hotel. So it looks like a hotel stay, like that we stayed there, but he bought it there. Swim trunks, souvenirs is also.
Sounds to me, if you don't have enough money, sir, that you watch surfboarding on TV instead of paying $388 for a surfboard.
That's no fun, though, Your Honor.
I didn't have enough money to buy myself souvenirs.
Miss Rosales.
So, sorry.
Yes, you
Miss
did.
Rosales,
You bought
do not.
$2,000.
Shh. Hey, he owes you money.
Yeah.
However, you don't escape without a tongue lashing. If you're being stupid, don't expect me to be sympathetic. You don't give a boyfriend a credit card. Ever. No way. Nothing. You don't give anybody a credit card, especially somebody that you are not related to by blood or marriage or committed to by virtue of an engagement. Even then, it's dumb and stupid. So you don't get any awards for brains.
I understand that, but I have loaned him money before and he's paid me back, so I had no reason not to trust him.
But I don't know how much he owes you.
It's $3,305.
I don't know her anything.
And 2 cents.
Oh, yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. I guarantee you, as good as you think you were on this trip, you weren't. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wanted the money because she bit off more than she could chew.
I'm just ecstatic that she didn't believe him.
Pretty girls get away with everything. Justice was not served.
He's so full of it. He's just unbelievable.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Hardesty, step forward, please.
19-year-old entertainment agent Jessica Miller and her husband, Howard Miller, are suing Jessica's cousin, 18-year-old carpet installer Stephen Hardesty, for breaking a lease. Stephen says Howard has a problem controlling his anger.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, the defendant is your cousin. Whose cousin is he?
Mine.
According to your complaint, he signed a lease with you to live in some sort of property that you had for a year. He lived there for a couple of months. You claim he owes you for 10 months' rent because he left voluntarily.
Right.
And the defendant says that he was forced to move out by your husband, and therefore he owes you nothing. What kind of property did he rent from you?
My husband and I have a townhouse that we rent. When we signed the lease, he also signed the lease with us. We don't own it. We rent it from somebody else.
Your husband and you signed the lease when?
June 1st of 2001.
When did the defendant sign the lease?
Same date.
So what happened?
We had a few rules in the house. Before everybody moved in, we agreed on a few rules, being no drugs at all. It had to be quiet at night. You had to clean up after yourself. Just basic house rules. For the 6 weeks he lived with us, we had fights every other day about house rules not being cleaned up and stuff like that. One afternoon, his girlfriend at the time had said something to my husband about me, and when I got home that night, he said, "Don't talk to him. We're going to have a house meeting when we get home."
Was his girlfriend living there?
She was, but she wasn't supposed to be. The deal with that was they have a child together. She was supposed to stay weekends so he can see the baby, and she could come over so he could see the baby.
Whose rule was that?
It was just an agreement we had until they got married, because she couldn't go on our lease until they were married.
Why not?
Because she's underage. She's only 16.
Shh. Okay, go ahead.
So she had an altercation with her parents to where she had to stay at the house. That was fine because the baby was there and there wasn't a whole lot of problems. But things just started getting out of hand. She wasn't working and neither was I. So we were supposed to take care of the house. And it seemed like it was me always scrubbing the bathrooms and cleaning the kitchens and doing everything. There was a lot of fighting going on. And one night in particular, they had some people over and they had a food fight. There was chocolate cake smeared into my living room carpet. I had an ornament that was precious to me broken. So I told him about it because I was very upset, and he was going to talk to them when they came in. And things got out of hand with them, and he said, "Look, Sarah's got to go. She's not on the lease. She's not even old enough to live here. She's got to leave." So that started a huge fight. And one thing led to another, and Steve said, "Well, she has to go. I'm going too." So he left, and he came back about an hour later with a cop to get a few things out of the house, and we hadn't seen him since.
What have you done to try to rent that other?
We can't rent it because his stuff is still there.
What's there?
His bed, their clothes, other personal things of his, paperwork they left there, boxes of other
What's
things.
all your stuff doing there?
I wasn't able to get a hold of them to go get
Well,
it.
the house hasn't moved. You take a police officer and you go over there with a truck and you get your stuff.
That is not why I had the police over there.
I don't care why you had the police over there. Okay. I'm going to assume as follows, that they told your girlfriend to leave, and you said, if she and the baby go, I'm going too, and I consider that an eviction of you. Do you understand?
Ma'am, at that time, the baby wasn't living there. Her mother had taken the baby.
Yes, because of all the yelling and screaming that her husband did Whenever my daughter would
You
see him, she
understood
would
that
cry.
if you said Sarah's going, that he was going to go too.
No, because they had fought and she had left 3 or 4 times.
When did you physically leave the premises, sir?
July 19th.
Did you pay July's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pay July's
Yes.
rent? What was your share of the rent?
$375.
So August, September, and October, so far you didn't pay,
No, ma'am.
right? It's not a very difficult case. If you tell the girlfriend to leave, he's going to leave. You told the girlfriend to leave?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Mr. Hardesty, he says that he just told your girlfriend to leave. Did he tell you to leave too?
Not exactly, but once I told him that if she was leaving, I was leaving too, he said, fine, get your stuff and get out. And then he calls my wife a derogatory name.
When did you get married?
July 20th.
So
And-
did this all happen the day before the wedding?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then after he made the derogatory comment, I told him to shut up, that I was not talking to him. And then I heard my wife get out of the car and say something, so I looked over, and then when I went to look back, he punched me in the side of the face.
Ma'am,
and then
that's
I
not
left.
how that happened
No,
at
ma'am.
all. What had happened was our stairwell comes into our living room. He and I were standing on the stairwell, and he was standing in front of it.
No.
Sarah had said many, many comments that night about me being a fat, lazy because I did not work. I stayed home to take care of our home. There were a lot of derogatory comments that every single person here said something. What had happened when he said she has got to go? Stephen said, well, she is not leaving without me. So he said, fine, I'm leaving. He went downstairs, and as he said, I followed him down. I said, look, this is not the way I want things to end. And we pretty much agreed that it had to end that way. There was no other way. So he walked out to his car to see what she was doing. When he came back up, he came at my husband. And my husband just held his arms
No.
out to push him. So the step under our house, he just didn't make it up the step. And then when he got back up, he came at my husband, and my husband swung
Yeah,
at him.
his arms were out like that, so I thought he was trying to tackle me.
No, ma'am.
So I swung at him.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, since you have been required to pay the full rent for the months that he has things there which do not enable you to rent that part of your house to somebody else, you have to be compensated for that. You have to do, however, whatever you can to find someone else. But if you're going to rent the house to somebody else, you have to start looking. You can't start looking until he gets his stuff out. So this is what you're going to do. You are going to get all of his stuff. 5 days from today, all of your stuff is going to be out in the street. Do you understand?
Yes.
They are going to call Salvation Army or whatever else and have Salvation Army come the next day. So you have 1 day to get your stuff. Other than that, it's gone. Clothes, pictures, valuables, bed, dresser, anything else that's there. You got 1 day to get it.
Why should I only have 1 day when they
Because
told
that's
me
what
to
I'm
get
giving
out?
you. 1 day, unless you pay rent, which you haven't done. Do we understand each other? I'm going to reduce
no.
this to an order so that you can read it over and over again and understand it.
But what if all of my stuff is not out?
Sir, they don't want your stuff, and it's been 4 months already, and you haven't gone back for it, so I assume you're not missing it. Okay, so then you have a month to find somebody else, because I am awarding you 4 months' rent, or $1,500. Sir, you got a very narrow window to get your stuff out. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 266 on the calendar in the matter of Chilcutt versus May. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Chilcutt, the defendant is a neighbor of yours, and you claim sometime last fall she vandalized your car.
Yes, ma'am.
She, of course, says she doesn't know what you're talking about. When did this happen, sir?
Approximately the fall of 2000. I
Fall
believe
is a long time.
Around November. I know it was a time when the leaves were falling down because what happened was my car, there were enough leaves in the bin to cover my car completely, several inches thick.
So that's how you knew it was the fall.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so sometime in the fall of 2000, what happened to your car?
Well, as a result of the leaves being
No,
piled...
what happened to your car? You came outside, you see your car full of leaves. Is that what happened?
Covered with leaves. The surface of the car, the top surface of the car was covered with leaves.
Was this in the
several
morning
inches
or in the...
deep.
Shh. Mr. Chilcutt, was this in the morning or in the evening that you noticed the car?
The morning.
And what did you do?
I proceeded to clean the car off.
And then what happened?
That was it. After I cleaned the car off, I noticed that there were many, looked like thousands of tiny scratches in the car and a couple of deeper scratches on the top of the car. And that was it. At that point, I had no idea that I had witnesses. About 8 months later, I was out waiting for a friend to pick me up, and Joe was outside washing his car, and we were just talking, conversing back and forth. And I told him about my car being vandalized back in the last fall. And he told me, he said, well,
Don't tell me what he told you. He's here. He's going to tell me what he said. Step up here, sir.
That's when he indicated to me.
What's your last name?
Bastillos.
Mr. Pastillos, are you a neighbor of these people?
Yeah, I am.
Did you witness anything happen in the fall of the year 2000 to the plaintiff's car?
Yes, one morning I came out to take off and go somewhere in my car, and I noticed this lady here throwing leaves on top of the cars that were parked in front of her house, which was his car and another neighbor's. And she was just, dumping the leaves all over the car, and a lady across the street yelled out, "What are you doing?" And she proceeded to say, she's off that people always moved her trash cans where they weren't getting picked up, so she was just irate and throwing leaves all over the car. But she also had the trash can on top of the car, so that's what I witnessed.
Okay, and how many cars did you see her dump leaves on?
2.
And you sure that one of them was the plaintiff's car?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Yeah, I've been in his car before.
Are you a friend of his?
Yeah.
Are you a friend of his? You hesitated, sir.
Well, we're not friends, we're acquaintances.
All right. So then, can you explain to me why it took you 8 months to tell him what you saw?
Because no one asked me.
You say that you saw the defendant, in effect, vandalizing 2 cars.
Yes.
That another neighbor came out and yelled at her. That she responded that she was unhappy because people were moving her trash cans.
Yes.
And you didn't think it was appropriate at that time to go over to the plaintiff and say to the plaintiff, listen, if I were you, I wouldn't park my car over there anymore because your car is going to get damaged again. This is what I saw. So you mean somebody has to ask you that?
At the time, I didn't know it was his car until that morning he came up to me and asked me while I was washing my car. And
You didn't, I don't understand. At the time that this happened, you knew the plaintiff. Is that right? He's the plaintiff.
Yeah. I did not know what car belonged to him. I knew him from, being in the building.
I thought
he
you
has
said
a truck. He has a truck and a car.
I thought you said you knew the car because you had been in the car before. I asked you, how did you know it was his car? You told me you knew the car because you had been in the car. Isn't that what you just said to me?
Yes.
So if you knew the car because you had been in the car, my question comes back, why didn't you immediately go over and tell him someone has just vandalized your car? Your answer to me was because nobody asked you?
No. When you asked me if I knew his car, I was nervous. That's why I said what I said. I did not know his car.
You didn't know his car?
Didn't.
Did not. And you had never been in his car?
Until after.
No, just a minute. And you had never been in his car?
Correct.
Oh, okay, so now we're going back. You had never been in his car until after this happened.
Correct.
How much after?
2 months after.
So 2 months after you saw this incident occur, which would have been also in the fall or early winter of 2000, you were in his car under what circumstances?
He gave me a ride to pick up my car.
So that was nice of him, right?
Yes.
And at that time, sir, you recognized his car as the car that had been vandalized, I assume?
Yeah.
Well, can you tell me why at that time you didn't discuss it with him?
Because he didn't bring it up.
Your Honor, may I?
No, you may not. He didn't bring it up. You didn't get into the car and say, gee, I didn't realize this was your car. You know, a couple of months ago, I saw someone vandalizing your car.
No, I didn't.
So what prompted you a year later to have this revelation and discuss it with Mr. Chilcutt?
Like he said, when I was washing my car, he came up to me, struck up a conversation, and mentioned that he was mad about the fact that someone was marking up his car.
So you said a year ago I saw somebody messing up your car. Is that what happened? Is that what happened?
No.
What did you tell him?
I told him what I witnessed.
A year ago?
Yes.
A year before? Good, sit down. What else do you want to tell me?
Your Honor, I asked Joe the same question, why didn't you tell me previously? And at the time he told me...
I don't want you to tell me what he told you. I just had him up on the stand. He testified. What else do you want to tell me?
Just that damage has been done to my car. Joe saw the lady doing the damage.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. I don't believe that he, according to him, he first knew your car, then he didn't know your car. He had never seen your car before. He was in your car. He wasn't in your car. That's your only witness.
Your Honor, he's
it's not
nervous.
Enough. It's not enough.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Chilcutt is suing his neighbor, Angela May, for dumping a garbage can full of leaves on top of his car.
I have to base a case on evidence. You don't even know the date that it happened. Sometime in the fall, around November. He doesn't know whether he's afoot or horseback. And if that's your only witness, you have no case, sir. Do you understand?
I have another statement from another neighbor who
I don't
couldn't
take
be here.
statements, I take witnesses. And do you want to know why I take witnesses? Because if I took his statement, I would find her guilty. But after examining him, sir, he didn't see nothing that I can rely on. Do you understand? So I don't take statements. Do you have anything else? Do you have any other witnesses?
I have no other witnesses.
Good. Thank you for your time. Case is over. Dismissed.
Parties are excused. They step out.
I couldn't even get to give my story.
According to my witness, she tipped it up on top of the car and scraped it across the car.
We have those big green trash cans from the city. I could no more pick up one of those big green trash cans than fly.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Holiday, Presley versus Llewellyn. Step forward, please.
30-year-old court collector Laura Holliday and 20-year-old Autumn Presley are suing 23-year-old cashier Erica Llewellyn for attorney's fees resulting from a false police report. Erica claims Laura and Autumn keyed her car.
Who is Miss Halliday?
I am.
And Miss Priestley, that's...
Presley.
Presley? Mm-hmm. Okay. According to your complaint, you believe that the defendant falsely accused you of keying her car, as a result of which you were arrested, had to hire an attorney, and ultimately, I assume, found not guilty. And you want her to pay the attorney's fees.
Mm-hmm.
And some small amount for harassment. The defendant says she believes she had good cause to notify the police of your involvement in vandalizing her car. So the first thing I have to know is, how do you ladies know each other?
My husband has a son with her.
Your husband has a child with the defendant?
Correct.
How long are you married?
3 years.
How old is your child?
He'll be 4 in February.
And you?
A child also with her husband.
And you have a child with her husband?
Her husband.
With her husband? And how old is your child?
She will be 4 in March.
He must have been very busy 4 years ago. Do you have any children with him?
No.
Okay, so that's how you know each other. Each of you have 4-year-olds with her husband.
Yes.
And you two are friends.
Mm-hmm.
When did this alleged incident of vandalizing your car take place?
In between the dates of March 16th and to the 18th of 2001.
On the 16th, the car was okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you find on the 18th?
I had really bad key marks on both sides of my car. I had it on the trunk and on the hood.
Can I see pictures of it? Do you have pictures?
I do not have pictures.
Okay. Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Can I see the police report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I assume there's no question that you contacted the police and gave the police at some point the plaintiffs' names as the perpetrators of this act of vandalism.
Yes,
when did you do that? How much after the incident?
Almost a week.
It was on the 26th of March.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what happened on the 26th of March that suggested to you that the two plaintiffs were responsible for the damage?
My next door neighbor, I hadn't talked to her within that week. Came over.
Told you something?
Yeah.
Is your next door neighbor here?
No, she's not.
Well, that's interesting because your testimony with regard to that would be hearsay. However, there are certain exceptions to the hearsay rule. And one of those exceptions is, if I don't take it for the truth of the statement, but merely that it was said to you that caused you to do something else, which in this case would be to call the police, I can hear what she told you and then make a determination myself as to whether or not she actually told it to you.
Okay.
Not whether she saw it, but whether she told it to you. All right, so you had a conversation with your neighbor. Tell me what your neighbor said to you.
She told me that Saturday night that she seen a white Jeep parked across the street, and she sat there and watched them for a little bit, and she said she seen them walk over and key my car and then take off laughing.
Did she describe the people?
She did describe the people. She actually said they were both white. She said that they had long hair and they were a little bit thick. Or well, I don't know how to explain it, but they were bigger women.
Do you have any police reports?
These are the copies of what she has. It's her statement. and such.
She didn't give me anything but one sheet of paper. Okay. Is there any interview in this police report from your neighbor?
No, the neighbors, none of her witnesses showed up in the court either that dismissed the case.
My neighbor is extremely sick.
That doesn't prevent the police from going and taking a statement.
Right. When I told them who it was and where she was, they did not even take any kind of initiative to talk to her.
I have a statement from the car dealership. My car was in the shop the week of the 15th to the 20th.
Let me see. So you actually never went to trial in this case?
No.
To whom it may concern, this Jeep Cherokee was at Extreme Auto Credit, Inc. for repairs. Did you show this to the police?
The police never contacted us. We gave it to our attorney.
Now, what would make you think that these two, other than this statement, which I find difficult to believe because the fact that this alleged witness who told you about what she saw couldn't come to this court today, there's certainly no reason why this witness couldn't go to a local court, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
she's extremely sick.
Well, maybe she's too sick to see what she said she saw. What would make you think that these two women would do such a thing to your car?
I've had problems with Miss Halliday for years, and just this year I just started having problems with Miss Priestley.
Why would you have problems with them?
I've been back and forth in court for like the last 4 years because
what?
she's taken me to court for stuff that she has said I've done that I haven't.
Like what?
Like judgments. She's took me to court for trying to get restraining orders against me several times.
Yeah.
She stated that I stalked her and all this, and I've never stalked her.
Couple of basic questions. Put your papers down. Did you ladies know each other before you had this mutual Don Juan? What's his name, by the way, your husband?
Ernie.
Ernie. Before Ernie, did you ladies know each other?
No.
No.
So it would be fair to say that any disputes that you've had, and I assume that there have been some negative feelings about children, child support, visitation, seeing all these children, that without Ernie, you would not have any problems with each other. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Probably.
Do these children visit Ernie?
Yeah, Ernie has full custody of 2 of them.
Of both of these children?
No. He had joint with her. We have a custody trial coming up in April.
So the child lives with
me.
You. And what about your child?
Mine lives with him.
Lives with Ernie? And lives with you?
Correct.
For how long?
About a year now.
Ernie has other children?
Yes.
How many more children does Ernie
Ernie
have?
has 5 children.
Ernie has 5. She says 6.
By 5 different people. We also had I was with Ernie for 6 years before them two had got together, and we had a daughter together that unfortunately passed away.
That was the 6th,
Yes,
I assume that you're talking about. You think you're going to stay with Ernie forever?
I don't know.
If I were an odds maker, I would say no. So I'm going to give you all a little bit of advice. You didn't ask me for it, but you're here, and you're a captive audience, so I'm going to tell you. You're making a fool over yourselves, each of you, for somebody that's probably not worth being a doormat for you to wipe your feet on.
I agree.
I mean, the fact that you got snookered in by this thing for some periods of time, for 4 years, for 5 years, for a year, it's a mistake. But to be involved in litigation, to be involved in harassing each other, just ridiculous. Don't you agree? You got to put a stop to it.
Yes, ma'am, I agree.
We tried at one point. We were getting along at one point, and I loaned her money to get her license back and such, and she never paid me back. That's what one of the court cases was about.
She never gave me a chance to pay her back.
Whatever. So it seems to me, this sounds almost like a communal marriage. Listen, you all don't have to really like each other. The fact that you have this common thread in Ernie is unfortunate, but it doesn't make you family. I mean, I assume you have to go over there to pick up your child who Ernie has custody of. Do you have other children?
Yes, I do.
How many other children?
I have 2 other children.
Where do they live?
With me.
Well, why does this child live with Ernie?
Because Ernie has custody of her.
Did you voluntarily give Ernie custody of the 4-year-old?
Yes, I did.
Why would you do that?
Because we were going through court at the time, and they were trying to have me pay for something that I shouldn't have been paying for
Like
when
what?
I think it was from when she was born, and he just took over the responsibility to pay the bill. So in order for him to take over the bill, he had to have custody.
Come on, you're being a little obtuse here. Give it to me straight.
That's
no,
why he got custody.
No.
Yes.
No. You mean if he pays the bill, he gets custody? That's why they gave him custody? Was that your contract with him? Was that your agreement with him?
No, it wasn't a contract.
Bunch of wackos. You're all a bunch of wackos. You have no case. She probably had grounds to call in a report that she believed that you had damaged her car. The fact that your car may have been in the shop, may not have been in the shop, that also was hearsay, by the way, the letter that you gave me. And you probably have done the same thing to her. How many times have you been to court with her?
I went to court with her a few times. One time was when she kicked in my door and came at me with a butcher knife. The other time was when the police had to remove her from my property. It's always
So
been her
you've
at
been
my
involved a few times with each other.
Yes, ma'am. That was the same day that she was
That, listen, you want to make fools over yourselves.
I don't.
With regard to Ernie's tentacles, you're going to continue to do that.
I have
and I
nothing to
can't
do with
help
Ernie.
you, but we certainly aren't going to reward you. Case is dismissed.
Parties are
Thank you.
excused. You may. Now this is case number 157 on the calendar in the matter of Van Blaricom versus Wyberny. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Van Blaricom, it is your claim that you made a series of small loans to the defendant over a 4-month period, and in addition, you want him to reimburse you for expenses when you were driving him from a halfway house where he was semi-incarcerated to his job when he was on probation. He says that you were friends, that there were never any loans, and he is counterclaiming because he says that when he finished his stint in the halfway house and went back to his girlfriend, you began a series of harassing phone calls, visits, etc., and he's counterclaiming in the amount of $3,500 for that harassment. When and where did you meet the defendant?
At my work. And I met him in June of 2000.
And when did you make the first loan to him?
In February of 2001.
What was that loan for, and tell me how it came about.
We were sitting in my car, and he said, "Can I borrow $60 from you?" We had a relationship. I picked him up every night from work, and then
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
And we also met for lunch every day, and he needed some items.
And when was that? On February what?
About February 12th. There's
making
several
up-
days.
Well,
There are
that's
several
what
days.
we're here for, madam. You come to
Correct.
court. You come to court, you're organized. You can't just come to court and say, I made a series of loans to him. This is the total amount. Thank you very much. My case has been now proven.
Correct. How about if I start from the beginning?
No, how about starting where I asked you? When was the first loan that you made to him?
I'm sorry, I don't have the exact dates. I don't have receipts for them. I gave him cash.
I didn't ask you for receipts. I said, when were the loans?
Correct.
I read your complaint very carefully, and you said, when our relationship started, I began writing about it in my journal. I'd write about the normal stuff you write about, including the items that I loaned him.
Correct.
So you say you have a journal.
Okay. Correct, I do. On March 9th, I loaned him $60.
Just a second. What happened to February? February comes before March.
Okay, I'm so sorry. February 6th. He just asked if he could borrow that money to get his car registered. I loaned him $73.
So it's not 60, it's 73.
Correct. On March.
Just a second. Can I see the journal, please?
Sure.
Would it be fair to say, madam, that
Yes,
you
sir.
have no independent recollection of any specific amounts that you gave to him or the circumstances surrounding giving him that money, other than this journal? Would that be fair to say?
That would be fair to say.
I'm just looking through. I'm not reading a diary. I'm looking at what you've highlighted. What you've highlighted, most of it is I just picked him up from work and brought him a pair of Nike pants, but there isn't anything in here that I see so far that talks about, here's one. That looks like March 16th. He borrowed $15. Other than the $15 in the text of your diary, is there any other amount in the text of your diary?
That's all. I wrote it at the back of my journal.
Well, I
everything.
see what you wrote in the back of your diary. You said, Dave owes me.
And then it has the date. Some of them has the date by them. There's 3/19 and
3/16 was $15, and on 3/19, $7 for junk. And the rest of them, $3 for cigarettes, another $3 for
That's just
cigarettes,
how I kept
$20
track.
for cigarettes.
And driver's license and registration.
Madam, there is a difference between giving somebody money and making a loan. When you make a loan, you give somebody money, you anticipate that money being returned, you make a payment plan with them, you say, when are you going to return the money?
We
Let's
did
leave the
have a
money
payment plan.
What was the payment plan?
He was going to pay me $20 a week when he got out. I'll pay you back. Just keep track of it, and I'll pay you back.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, Your Honor, it doesn't.
Anything sound familiar to you so far?
No, because she
Does the fact that she would give you money periodically for little odds and ends, does that sound familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay. So she did give you money. Not a large amount of money. I mean, the whole thing doesn't come to very, very much. It comes to, according to her journal, $288, right?
It could be. I didn't keep track of it.
Well, did you tell her to keep track?
Did I tell her to?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. She knew.
Don't tell me what she knew. What she knew goes to the operation of her mind. You took money from her.
Correct.
Why?
She was giving it.
Well, she wasn't giving it unless you asked her.
But
I need $3 for cigarettes. I need 3 payments.
Okay.
I need to register my car. I need my driver's license.
There was no arrangement to pay any of it back. None.
Why?
Because she knew the situation I was in. I didn't have any money. What started as a friendship, Your Honor, turned into a fatal attraction.
Listen to me. I ain't interested. I'm interested in money. You were in a halfway house because you had been arrested. You had been arrested and convicted, and you were serving time in a halfway house.
Correct.
She was schlepping you to and from the halfway house to your job because you had no means of transportation because you had a suspended license. So far, is that correct?
Once in a while.
Once in a while. It's a lot more than once in a while because I have her diary. That she was doing. That doesn't mean
Anybody
she gets paid
can
for
write
that.
anything.
That's what she... Listen, she took you back and forth. She had conversations with you. That doesn't mean she's going to get any money. Because I don't know if you had an arrangement with regard to paying any of the expenses on the car. You have $288 in cash that you say you gave him, but you're suing him for $950, and the rest of it you claim were miscellaneous expenses, like?
Gas.
Well,
Just
what
gas
kind of
for the car.
What arrangement did you have with
The
him?
same. It was just the same.
No, I don't believe you. I don't believe that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shauna Van Blaricom says ex-boyfriend David Wyberny owes for loans and rides to work. David says Shauna is a fatal attraction.
I believe you liked him, and you picked him up. You drove him where he had to go, but I don't believe that there was any of an arrangement for you to be reimbursed for your gas and your mileage and the wear and tear on your car. Don't believe it. Okay, let me get to the counterclaim. You have a counterclaim for harassment, which far exceeds her claim. You want to tell me about it?
Well, like I said before, what started as a friendship.
Don't tell me what you think it became, sir. Tell me when it started.
Shortly after I left the RCF.
What's RCF?
Residential Corrections Facility.
When was that?
In May.
And had you been seeing her up until that time?
Off and on as friends.
Okay. But she would pick you up, drop you off, occasionally give you cigarette money, then you get out of the RCF.
Correct.
And?
I quit talking with her because things got a little deeper. She wanted more, and I couldn't give her more.
Well, if you quit speaking to her, you quit speaking to her immediately when you left RCF?
Yeah.
Where did you go to live?
At my house.
Who else lives there?
My girlfriend.
So you went back to your girlfriend immediately?
Right.
So the plaintiff had served her purpose?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I went home on the weekends too, so it wasn't, I was only down at the RCF during the week.
Did you tell her that you were going back to your girlfriend on the weekends when you weren't there?
Yes, she knew I had a girlfriend.
No, don't tell me what she knew.
Yes, I told her that.
That you were going back to your girlfriend on the weekends. Did you know that?
Yes, I did. He told me that he was leaving her and after he received some papers because he owed her money, and when he got those papers that he had paid her off, that he was going to be with me and move in with me.
What kind of papers?
It was from a car dealership. He had to pay.
You the girlfriend?
It's in this
Yes, I am.
Step up. Tell me your last name.
Dahlin.
Stalin, what kind of money did he owe you?
He had written a check out on my account for a down payment of a truck.
Yes.
And he had been paying it back, but there was no deal to have it paid back.
Just a second. He wrote a check out on your account?
Mm-hmm.
And he forged your name?
Yes.
Thank you. Sit down. So he told you once he got that debt paid off so that she wouldn't prosecute him, he would leave her and come back to you. Well, there's some substance to that story, sir, because your girlfriend seems to acknowledge that you forged her name to a check. So that's not a story that the plaintiff is making up out of whole cloth. But you got taken. You got had.
I know.
So that's not a lawsuit. You chalk that up to, I got had. Next time I'm going to, if I have to pick somebody up at a halfway house and drive them to their job, that should be my first clue that this wasn't what my mother had in mind when she said Prince Charming is coming along. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. All right. So now let's hear about the continued harassment after you went back to your girlfriend.
She would call our phone and hang up. I have police reports here.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see them, please.
Of 2 incidents.
I'd like to see them.
And in one of them, the officer advised us to get her girlfriend's work. It was harassing her at work to the point where she was trying to get my girlfriend fired from her job and causing problems with my girlfriend's employer.
You lied to the detective who took your initial report, sir. Is that right?
It wasn't a detective, it was a...
Police officer. You lied to the police officer who took your initial report. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So let me gather what's been going on. The plaintiff called you several times at your job. One of the things she did when she called you at your job was to play a phone recording of him indicating that he was, in fact, still calling her. She wanted you to know that you were living with, dating, whatever, somebody who was two-timing you as he had two-timed her. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what it was. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And the second phone call was someone who you did not know who it was at the other end because they hung up immediately. You assumed it was her. Is that
It
fair?
happened enough times that yes.
That you assumed it was
Mm-hmm.
her. And they told you that you could, in fact, have records pulled, etc., but that was never done. Is that right?
No.
Fine. That's what I gather. Your harassment claim is dismissed. As for your claim, madam, I want you to be smart. Chalk it up to experience. Chalk it up to experience. She's with him now.
I understand
You
that.
have to say, good luck.
That's right.
Good luck, and I'm out of here.
That's right.
And I'm lucky to be out of here when I am, because if you want somebody with good character, you don't find them in a halfway house. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Don't be so trusting of everyone. Not everyone is good-hearted.
I think she needs to grow up. She's 34 years old and she should have learned a lesson a long time ago.
And now the next case.
All parties on Williams versus Hume. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Jennifer Williams is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old student Michael Hume, for attorney's fees, money loaned, and for kicking down her door.
Miss Williams, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours.
Mm-hmm.
I gather you were arrested on some sort of a warrant from when you were a juvenile. Is that
Yes,
right?
Probation violation.
And at that time, according to you, Miss Williams, he's in jail, and you loaned him some money to buy some socks and other toothpaste, I guess, combs,
Yes, ma'am.
shaving stuff. That wasn't a lot of money. How much was it?
$200.
Did he ask you for that money?
He asked for the money to be put in his account. I said I would do it as long as he paid me back.
Did you say that to him?
Yes, I did.
You remember that?
Not at all. I don't.
Do me a favor, don't laugh.
Sorry.
Did she put any money into your account?
Yes, she did.
How much?
She said 200.
How did she know you needed money in your account?
Well, I made phone calls.
And what did you say?
I said that we have commissary and I would like some money, and she sent me money. Some of that money, I was under the understanding that some of that money came out of one of my paychecks when I was working security before I was incarcerated.
Did you have any paychecks of his that he got after?
No, ma'am. None of the money that was put into his commissary account came out of his paycheck. That all came out of my paychecks.
Where was his paycheck?
At Sandy's house, who was his employer at the time. It was at her house.
So you never got his
No,
paycheck?
ma'am.
Okay. Now let's talk about the lawyer.
Because that's a much bigger bill. You say that you paid for his lawyer.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much was that?
Well, I had thought it was $1,100. I have the receipts. It says it was $1,200.
But you sued for 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's it.
Okay, tell me how come you paid for his lawyer?
I went to go see him in jail. It was originally understood he was going to get a court-appointed lawyer. Then he had called me and said he didn't want a court-appointed lawyer, that he had wanted a real lawyer. And then the next day when I had gone to see him in jail, I told him I would pay for the lawyer as long as he paid me back when he got out of jail.
A lot of that is false.
Just tell me the story, sir.
Okay.
And try standing up straight and looking at me.
Sorry.
Good.
Basically.
Looking at me. I'm not there. I'm here.
Okay, sorry. I told both her and her mother that I was fine with a court-appointed lawyer. I didn't agree to pay them back at all. I also it was never in writing or anything. I'd never said that. It was just never said. I was just under the understanding that she was paying for my lawyer to be nice because she loved me, blah, 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 you know.
There's a lot there to love.
Thanks.
Well, if you didn't want her to pay for your lawyer and if you were just as happy with the public defender, why didn't you just say to the lawyer when the lawyer came to see you in jail, I have a lawyer, thank you very much, I don't need a lawyer.
Well, I didn't have a court-appointed lawyer yet.
So you had no lawyer and you're sitting in jail?
Not yet. I hadn't.
Just pay attention.
Okay.
You had no lawyer and you're sitting in jail. How old are you?
19.
Had you been in jail before?
Yes.
For how long?
Around 2 months.
Did you know her then?
No, no, I did not.
When you met him, had you known that he had spent some time in jail?
The first time I met him was when we were both working at Friendly's. I didn't find out he was in jail then until the third week we knew each other. We weren't dating yet.
But then you found out that he had been incarcerated. Did you know what for?
Over the months we had dated, he had explained things. All I knew is that he had a probation violation, possession of marijuana, possession of a controlled substance, eluding the police. List goes on and on.
You're still on probation?
No.
So you're not drug screened anymore, is that
No.
right?
Correct.
How did I know that?
You're really intelligent.
You're really right. What else?
Well, as far as him for telling you that he had never said he would pay me back, my witness was there at the time. She is my mother. She was in the room with us when he said it.
Let me hear you. Miss Williams?
Yes.
Let me hear what you heard. Where were you first?
We were in the lawyer's office. His father had mentioned, I'm not going to pay for your lawyer. And Michael had said, I will pay you back.
So you were all sitting together?
Yes. And the first time we had talked about the lawyer, I had gone with my daughter to see him in jail. And he said, don't worry, Ma, I'll pay you back when I get out of jail and I get a
is
job.
that what he called you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What else?
He put a hole in my door, my bedroom door, when we were fighting one night.
Forget it. Let me tell you something. Was this after he got out of jail?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
After he got out of jail, I wouldn't have let him back in my bedroom at all.
And I was very stupid to do so.
Fine. Then you pay for the door out of your own stupidity.
All right.
Where are you working now? What is that around your neck?
This? Necklaces.
One or more?
2.
What are they made out of?
Just aluminum and metal.
Where are you working now?
Right now, I'm actually not working. I'm applying, though, at various jobs.
Who are you living with?
I'm living with my friend.
This friend?
No, not this friend.
What kind of friend?
He restores cars.
What else does he do? Does he sell? Is he a business person?
No, not at all.
Does he sell anything
No.
other than restoring cars?
No,
No.
People want him to sell his car, but he won't do it.
I wasn't talking about cars necessarily. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,300, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 188 on the calendar in the matter of Murray versus Rose. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
You are Mr.
Murray.
So you are the father of the...
Bride.
And Miss Rose, you're the mother of the groom.
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you?
Groom.
Where's the bride?
She couldn't be here. She was too upset over these matters, Your Honor.
I believe it. Okay. Bert, I want you to listen to this very carefully. You haven't married any of your children yet, right?
Not yet.
According to the complaint and the counterclaim, the two families were planning a wonderful wedding for their children, and now the wedding, which has taken place, is over. And each of the parents are suing and countersuing the others for monies that they say are owed to them as a result of the expenses for the wedding. We're not talking about a lot of money here. Mr. Murray, you claim that Mrs. Rose owes you $573.79. And Mrs. Rose, you say that Mr. Murray owes you $2,999.45. First, let me hear what the claims are before I rush to judgment. Okay, sir. When was the wedding planned?
The wedding was planned for March 31st.
And you like the bridegroom?
Yes.
Nice guy?
Yes.
You think your daughter likes him?
I hope so.
She's known him for a while?
Yes, I think they've known each other 3-4 years, something like that.
And looking forward to a wonderful life together.
Hopefully.
So tell me how much you say you're owed by Miss Rose, and for what?
All right, I think the total is $573.79. She wanted to have the reception at her club, which is
Who wanted to have the
bar.
reception at the club?
Pat, Mrs. Rose wanted to have the reception at her club or bar, or I think the sign on the front says honky tonk.
It's not a honky tonk. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Matter of fact, I have pictures of
Just
showing that.
talk to me, sir.
But anyway, we met there 2 weeks before the wedding to go over things that need to be done and this and that and the other. And she'd asked, in fact, about a week or so before that, if we could clean the carpet. We own and operate a carpet cleaning business. So we agreed that we'd come in and clean the carpet, and the deal was...
You mean before the wedding?
Before the wedding. And the deal was on the carpet was that we would clean the carpet for whatever it cost for materials.
Go ahead.
We went in and cleaned the carpet. In fact, my wife and my stepson had went and cleaned the carpet. They were in there for like 6 hours. We used somewhere around 60 gallons or 62.5 gallons of cleaner in this restaurant. It was extremely, extremely bad. I mean, for the square foot of a bar.
It was a dirty carpet, then you cleaned
Very
it.
dirty.
That's your business.
Right.
Okay.
So anyway, Thursday night we stopped by the club. They were in there starting to set up. They were blowing up balloons, I believe. She said she didn't have a way to go to the store to pick up some of the food items that she wanted to prepare for the reception. And we said, well, we can go do that. My wife left, went to the grocery store, picked up the food items, brought them back. And we said we would settle up after the wedding. The wedding took place on Saturday. Monday, we went back in to pick up some of our things. In fact, we'd sent her a bill later on that week after we'd got everything together. She called and said that she didn't think she owed that kind of money. We sent her receipts. We heard nothing.
Okay, so your receipts are for what, sir?
The receipts are for the items that were bought at the grocery store.
And how much was that?
$53.24.
$53.24 of the items you bought at the grocery store. And what else?
We'd taken some ribbons and things by for table decorations. I mean, it's just simple things like 94 cents on ribbons and stuff like that.
So, yeah, go ahead, 94 cents. What else?
Right. It was some things in there from Food Line.
All total,
Meat.
sir, for the items that you picked up for her, that you have receipts for, how much do you have receipts for?
Oh, Lord. Be $123.79, I believe, Your Honor.
$123.79. All right. And what's the other money for?
The other money, the $450, was for materials used in carpet cleaning.
Okay. That's what your claim is, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me hear from you. What's your claim about?
Would you like these receipts?
No.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, when I talked to his wife, Mrs. Murray, about cleaning my carpets, I told her it was for the wedding because I wanted the carpets to be clean for the reception. First, she said, no charge. I said, no, I will not let you do it free of charge. She says, well, why don't we get the boys to clean the carpets and I'll charge you for the chemicals. And I said, that's fine. How much do you think that'll be? She said $25 or $30. I agreed to that. The boys came in, they cleaned the carpets. And then the Thursday, as he was talking about her going to the grocery store.
I don't want to hear about the grocery store.
Okay, they came over to...
Shh. I don't want to hear about the grocery store. I want to hear about your counterclaim.
Oh, my counterclaim. Okay.
Right, that's what I want to hear about.
Okay, my counterclaim is $2,999.45. These are charges incurred because of the wedding, the rental of the dance area, which is half of what I would normally have charged.
Why did you charge him anything?
Well,
Why'd you charge him
It's a
anything?
business.
What?
I coughed up $400
For what?
For the rental of the business.
No. Listen
I
to me.
closed my business down, Your Honor, for 10 hours.
Just a second. How long was the reception?
The reception started at 4.
And was over at what time?
4:30, 5 o'clock, and it went on to 12.
Were there other people in the bar?
Not customers, no. Everybody was in there, was invited to the wedding.
Fine. How many children do you have?
One, thank God.
Good. So you have one child, and you happen to have a place where they could have the wedding. So what's the big deal if you close your place for a
No
night?
big deal.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Murray says mother of the groom, Pat Rose, owes for money spent on his stepdaughter's wedding. Pat says it's Stephen who owes.
What's next?
Preparation and setup.
What does that mean?
That was doing the decorations, all the things that had to be done, setting up for the food area, for the cake, the decorations for the club.
What else?
Clean up.
What else?
Rental of linens. They did not want to use my white ones. They wanted the champagne ones.
Fine.
I quoted
How
them
much was that?
$65.
Good. Go.
I have invoices.
No. I want you to keep talking to me.
Okay. The food.
How much was the food?
My cost on the food was $601. I
Okay.
called a caterer to find out how much.
How many people were at the wedding?
187 people RSVP'd.
No. How many people came to the wedding?
I didn't do a head count, Your Honor.
But a lot of people.
Yes, it was full.
Okay, and the total cost of the food was approximately $601?
Right.
Okay, what else?
Champagne.
How much was that? Your cost?
$210.
That was-
She agreed to pay for this.
Okay, what's next?
The bands and the DJs.
Are these regular employees of yours?
No, you book bands and DJs as you need them.
No, I'm asking you. Were these regular employees of yours? Did you pay them by the week? Did you pay them
No,
by...
you book them per occasion. I had booked a band in there. Mrs. Murray called me and insisted that I cancel the band. I told her it would be just as cheap for me to let them go ahead and play because I had to pay a cancellation fee. She said she wanted a DJ and karaoke to cancel my band. I did. I paid the cancellation fee, hired a DJ, and as soon as I...
Now, would you give me some idea of what the cost was for the music?
I paid $290 cancellation fee. Then I had to turn around and pay another band that she insisted that I hire, $300. The DJ and karaoke was $250.
Okay, what else?
And then there was additional wait staff, loss of linens due to the fountain, and the carpet. I have invoices for all this, Your Honor.
I'm being very arbitrary here. There are certain costs that I'm considering in my head and certain costs that I'm not. Now, Mr. Murray, how many children do you have, sir?
I have 2, and I have 2 stepchildren.
I want to know how many children you have.
2, 1 daughter, 1 son.
And how much did you pay out of pocket for her wedding?
That was my stepdaughter that got married, Your Honor.
Oh, it was your stepdaughter that
Yes.
got married. Well, that's your daughter. Step up.
Your Honor.
Just a minute. Your name is Miss Murray?
My name's Darlene Murray.
You have one daughter?
I have 2 children, 1 daughter, 1 son.
Are you employed?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
What I want to know is how much the parents of the bride actually expended for this wedding and what you spent it for.
Your Honor, first of all, may I please say...
Say nothing except answering my question. How much money did you spend to feed the guests at the wedding?
My agreement...
That's not what I asked you. How much did you spend to feed the guests at the wedding?
I would say that I spent over $200.
For what?
The rehearsal dinner, unbeknownst to me, was at my home that was not pre-planned.
Who planned a rehearsal dinner at your home without your knowledge?
There was not to be, Your Honor, a rehearsal dinner because the rehearsal was going to be at 7 o'clock in the evening, the night prior to the wedding.
Right.
My son just got married last May, and it was...
How did you get to have a rehearsal dinner at your house without your knowledge?
We were doing dinner for the guests that were coming in from out of town
Mostly
that would
family
be
members.
staying.
Your
Today,
guests?
correct.
Just a second. Just a second. Your guests?
Correct.
From out of town?
Correct.
Were any of the groom's guests from out of town at this rehearsal dinner?
They were not to be, but at the last minute, because of not planning correctly, Miss Rose informed me that they would then come to our house after the
Your
rehearsal.
Honor.
So I ended up with their family and our out-of-town guests at our home for a rehearsal dinner that we prepared all the food and liquor at.
Okay.
Your
No,
Honor.
no, don't answer. Don't answer. Don't answer me. Don't answer me. How many people did you have at your home for dinner?
I would say 50 people there.
50 people. And of the 50 people, how many people were from the groom's side?
I would say roughly.
Not roughly.
Some people I didn't know. I mean, they were friends and out of town. I would say probably somewhere around 20 to 25. It was probably about equal amounts.
Okay.
She's, okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
What else did you spend money on?
For the wedding?
Yeah.
Other than dress and personal items?
Yeah.
Nothing, because it was not my wedding. This is my daughter's third wedding, Your Honor.
wedding.
I paid for the first one.
And Stacy and Wayne agreed to pay for this wedding.
My daughter is 35 years of age. This was their wedding. I do not believe that it was my obligation as mother of the bride to pay for a wedding that they did
Then let me
arrangements.
ask you this question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? And I don't necessarily disagree with you, because that's information that was not contained in your complaint, that this was a third marriage for your daughter.
Your Honor.
Shh.
Excuse me. Okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Just a minute.
Okay.
And that you paid for the first one, maybe paid for the second one, and you weren't going to pay for a third one. You said, wish you good luck, but I'm not paying for the wedding. That's not unreasonable, so.
That's basically how it worked.
And I
right.
had-
Just a minute. That doesn't mean you're going to get your money for carpet cleaning. Let me explain that to you. That's outrageous. It's outrageous because I've had my carpet cleaned a couple of times in my life, and it doesn't cost $450 for materials for carpet cleaning. You know it, and I know it. Mr. Murray, you know what a gallon, a jug, a whole vat of cleaning material costs, and it doesn't cost $450 for carpet cleaning. And even if it did, which it doesn't, it seems to me, while you had no out-of-pocket expenses for the wedding, it was a nice gesture if you said, if you're donating your hall, which, by the way, you're going to do.
Okay.
I'm giving you that right now.
That's fine.
If you're donating the hall, at least I want to do something to make it pretty, so I'll come in and clean the carpets. So I've just taken care of your claim. You have no claim. You cleaned the carpets and you picked up $100 worth of food. Big deal. According to you, you had a lot of out-of-town family. I don't know if it's your family, your daughter's family. So even if you made a rehearsal dinner, you decided to do that, and you made it at your house for your out-of-town guests, you knew that they were going to be fed at her establishment because she paid for the food.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, I believe she paid for the food for the wedding.
Your Honor, may I please say something?
You're telling me everybody brought something?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
And I have the list as
friend-
to how it
A
was
friend of
done.
ours that came from North Carolina that does wedding cakes, she made the cake and she brought the cake
How
down.
many people were at this wedding?
I think
About
it was- I think it was-
120
yeah.
people.
120 people. So somebody else made a wedding cake. Big deal. And
No,
if you're telling me this was a potluck wedding where everybody brought a dish to feed 120 people, I'm telling you I don't buy it.
Well,
Forget it.
wasn't-
You have no claim.
Wasn't
You
enough food
listen to
feed
me.
120
You
people.
have no claim. What I don't understand is why you two people have chosen to interfere with the happiness of your children over what I consider pittance of money. Everybody has problems when they plan a wedding. Everybody has problems when paying for a wedding. The bride's parents are supposed to do this, the groom's parents are supposed to do that. In the case of second or third marriages, perhaps that's different. But it seems to me you have one child, and you want that child to be happy. Both of you have placed a strain on a brand new marriage by fighting with each other. This will never go away. This will never make your children feel better. Put your hand down. I am certain that they have had many hours of discussions, unpleasant discussions. Is that a fair statement? You and your new wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Over this nonsense. Nonsense. Stand up here with your mom. Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Professional painter.
Have you been doing that for a long time?
Right about 8 months now.
Is this your first marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew it was your wife's third marriage.
Yes, ma'am.
Does she have children from her first two
Yes,
marriages?
ma'am. 2 girls.
How old are they?
19 and 16.
Are you currently living with your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than this strain that you have any other stress or strain?
Regular life, but this is really a real bad strain.
This is what I'm going to suggest that you do. If your mother wants the money for the rental of the hall, for the band, and for any other incidentals that she may have incurred for this wedding, I suggest you and your wife pay for it.
But Your Honor.
Do you understand? I suggest you and your wife pay for it.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
Mrs. Murray is the one who demanded all these demands. She's the one that ramrodded the whole affair. She's the one that made all the decisions, not the bride and groom, not myself. She's the one that demanded that I cancel the band. Then she's the one that demanded that I hire a DJ. She's the one that demanded that I rehire another band. She's the one who agreed to pay for the champagne. She's the one who agreed to do all this stuff.
I helped clean
She's
the carpet.
the one, she was so petty
Just a
about
second.
everything, Your
Just
Honor.
a second. Listen to me. I wasn't there. And I believe, just listen to me. You don't have a written agreement with her, do you?
Verbal agreement.
I said you don't have a written agreement
No,
with her,
ma'am,
do
I have
you?
a verbal agreement.
Okay. I believe them when they say that they were not prepared to make a third wedding. I believe them because that's very reasonable. And they were going to use your club, and there weren't going to be a lot of expenses. You have 2 adult children, one of whom has 2 children who are adults themselves. So if you feel as if you have to be reimbursed for the rental of your place and table linens, I suggest you speak to your son and make arrangements to do that. Your case is dismissed as well as your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step up. Yeah, this is case number 300 on the calendar in the matter of Lane versus Sandicott.
Thank you, Bird.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
The defendant was a former friend and roommate of both of you?
Yes.
Is that right? And it is your claim first that you sold him a car, that he didn't make all the payments on the car, you repossessed the car, then the police came to your house, arrested you both, and you spent 6 days in jail.
Yes.
And you want the money for the car, because I assume he has the car back?
Yes.
Next cause of action is you claim that he stole certain property.
Yes.
The defendant says that he actually owed you very little on the car because he did some work for you, and he's got a counterclaim for value of a computer, software, lost wages, and a whole bunch of pain and suffering. When did you sell him the car and for how much?
On June 25th of 2001, and we sold him, the original selling price was for $800. He gave us $400 in computer parts and $100 in cash.
So he owed you $300 for
Yes,
the car.
ma'am.
Go ahead.
Then we agreed to finish paying for the rest of the car in 1 week. A month later, we came to Jeff and we asked him, can he, finish paying for the car? And if he wasn't going to finish paying for the car, we were going to repossess it, and he wasn't going to get reimbursed for the amount he already paid. Another month and a half after that came and went, and we came to Jeff again, and we told him, you broke the agreement that we had, and now we want to repossess it. Jeff then stated that the car was broken, that it wasn't even drivable. We said, fine, we're going to go fix the car and take it home. And that's when we went to go, and the car wasn't even broken, Your Honor. It had nothing wrong with it. We drove the car home, and the next morning, the police came because Jeff called the police and told them that we stole his car.
Was the car titled in your name at that point, sir?
No.
It was not?
No.
In whose name was the car titled?
I believe it was in the people they had bought it from. It had never been turned over into their name either because we were going to turn it straight into my name.
So you didn't have the title to the car?
Right.
And you didn't have the title to the car in your name?
I do have a bill of sale and the title that is listed for my wife's name on the title, Your Honor.
Let me see it. So you only had this car a couple of weeks before you sold it to him?
Yes, ma'am.
And you bought the car for $400?
Yes, ma'am.
You sold it to him for $800?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a pretty good profit.
Yes.
From your friend, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
But when the police came to the house, Your Honor, they refused to look at any of the legal documents stating that the car was ours, and they threw us in jail. Me and my wife both spent 6 days in jail.
Why did you spend 6 days in jail?
Because Jeff had this thing against us.
What thing did he have against you?
About possession of stolen property for the car.
I understand that, but didn't a lawyer come to see you while you were in jail?
No, Your Honor.
What state do you live in?
Washington.
Washington.
Washington State?
Yes, ma'am.
Mark that off my list of places to visit.
You got it.
Yes.
Was this the first time you were arrested?
For this matter? No. No, ma'am. What happens is when you get arrested, right, you go in for arraignment the next day, and then you plead not guilty. And then they give you another court date a week after that, and then you go in and you plead not guilty again.
Yeah, but even on your... No. I mean, most civilized jurisdictions, before you go and appear before a judge, you're given a lawyer, and you say to the lawyer, look, I have the bill of sale. Please show that to a judge. That would happen on the very next day, unless they were detaining you on some other matter. Now, were you being detained on some other matter? Don't look at me like I'm speaking a foreign language, all right? You were being detained on another matter.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was me.
Perfect. Because what you have just described to me might happen in Afghanistan, but doesn't happen in the United States of America. Were you being held on a warrant?
Yes.
Perfect.
Does this mean Washington's back on your list?
Washington's back on my list. Thank you, Bert. All right, so let's get rid of any pain and suffering that you had as a result of this 6-day incarceration. It wasn't 6 days incarceration on this. They just happened to find you because of this. Okay. You have the car. You owe him $300 for the car.
I actually owe him $260.
So why didn't you pay him?
I just honestly didn't have the money, but
So why didn't you give him back the car? And they would have given you back the software, given you back your $100.
up until this point we were friends, and they had another vehicle. So there was no real reason to. I was paying him in small payments. Actually, before they came and stole the car, I gave him $40 like 2 weeks before this happened.
Is that right?
That was on past bills, Your Honor. Bills because he didn't, on the last month that he lived with us, he didn't finish paying for his electric bill or his phone bill. And so we took this money for that.
No, that's not what I'm asking you, whether you took the money for that. Did he say, when he handed you the $40, did he say to you, this is for car payment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, then you don't say, well, I'm not accepting this as a car payment. I'm going to put it towards your last month's bills. If he made the payment for the car, then he only owes you $260 for the car. So you agree you owe him $260 for the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about what you claim he stole. You say he stole property.
Yes, Your Honor. On when we were released from jail, we had got evicted from our apartment, and my mother, Pauline Hall, she had packed my things. And when I was released from jail, I went through my stuff and I noticed items missing. One being $200 worth of movie tickets, one being a basketball, and computer paper.
So?
And when I went and asked my mother, I said, did you remember packing this stuff? And she told me yes, she did remember packing this stuff, plus she remembered seeing Jeff going through the things after.
Are you the mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up, please. What is your last name?
Hall, H-A-L-O.
You saw him take property?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see him take, and when?
Okay, I asked him to move from my home because at this time he was living in my home.
You mean the defendant?
Yes, Jeff.
Yes.
And so I went to Jerry and Olga's apartment, and I was packing their things and bringing them into my garage as Jeff was moving his things out of my home. He was taking tables and chairs and basketballs and going through boxes. He had taken some food, that all of these things he said was his. Well, my daughter Janet told me not to let him do these things. And I said, I'm very tired. I just want to get these kids moved out of their apartment, and Jerry can deal with him on this matter later. About a week after this happened, Jeff and I had a phone conversation because Jeff had taken some things from my home that I wanted back. And he told me that he put $300 for the money that he had owed on the car in Jerry and Olga's checkings account. And I said, Jeff, that's a lie because they don't even have a checkings account. We closed that out.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerry and Olga Lane say former friend Jeff Sandercock owes for the cost of a car and stolen property. Jeff says the Lanes crossed the line when they tried to repossess the car.
Did you take a basketball that belongs to him?
I honestly don't know. I moved a lot of stuff in that 2 days.
Do you have a basketball that doesn't belong to you at home?
I don't think so, no.
How much was the basketball?
It was probably about worth $20, Your Honor.
You more than made that up on the car. Sit down. So far, you owe him $260. Now, you want to tell me about your counterclaim? Take a deep breath. I'm ready.
Well, first of all, I had given him $500 worth of computer stuff. And it was a computer and a fax machine, printer, scanner.
Whatever, it was towards the car.
It was just...
That was towards the car.
A ton of
I
stuff.
gave you credit for that, so we don't do double dipping here.
Right. But the reason why they took the car was because they had come over to the house when I was living with Pauline, and they had made mention of fleeing to Canada because his wife is an illegal immigrant. And they were thinking she was going to be deported for the electronic fraud that she had gone to jail for.
So
that's when they came and stole the car. And
I asked you a question. I'm on your counterclaim. Do you understand? You still owe $260 on the car. You agreed to pay $800. You didn't pay $800. You owe $260. You have a counterclaim. You say they took property. They owe you for computers, software, lost wages, and a whole bunch of pain and suffering. I'm waiting.
the software he had dropped about a week before this had happened. It was just a CD that I lent him, and he dropped it on the ground, and it scratched, and he said he was going to pay me for it. It was $80.
Next.
The day he stole the car, I was supposed to be at two clients' place, because I work for myself, and I couldn't get there, so I had to call and I had to cancel. So,
all right. Cry me a tear. Go ahead. What's next?
that was it. That was.
And that's your pain.
Right.
And you're suffering.
I had to call, and I had to, my name is on it. That's what they pay me for, is being dependable, and I couldn't be there.
Should have been there.
I couldn't. I didn't have a car. It was being stolen.
Call a cab. Call a taxi. Taxi. Or walk. You don't get paid for that. He owes you $260 for the car. Period.
Your Honor, about the matter about him losing wages, he was not in possession of the car.
Just 1 second. Listen to me carefully. I just dismissed it. I would like to dismiss him. He has no cause of action. He has no claim. Anything else you want to tell me?
Yes.
What?
First of all, I'm a legal resident. I'm not illegal resident of the United States. Then when he moved in with us, to live with us, I paid a deposit. He didn't pay his part. When he paid last money for the car, I said, this is for last bills. It's not for the car. This is for last bills.
Listen to me. You had the car for 2 weeks. You didn't even transfer the title to the car in your name. You made a $100 profit. That is a 20% profit. Is that right? 20% profit on what you, 25% profit on what you paid in 2 weeks. People could get that in the stock market these days. They would be very happy. Stop complaining. Goodbye.
He's not excused. You may step out.
The computer was worth way more than $500, for all the hardware and stuff.
Numerous times we came to Jeff and said, hey, for us to resume our our friendship, he needs to continue to pay for the car.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morrison versus McKinney. Step forward, please.
31-year-old office manager Carla Morrison is suing her former friend, 27-year-old retail salesperson Corey McKinney, for an unpaid cell phone bill. Corey has a countersuit claiming Carla vandalized his car.
Miss Morrison, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends, and there came a time when each of you wanted a cell phone. I know what happened with an uncle of yours. He agreed to get the cell phones for you, but the defendant's agreement with you was that he would pay his portion of the cell phone bill.
That is correct.
You claimed that he ran up a substantial bill on the cell phone, which he has not paid.
That is correct.
Now, the defendant, I read your answer, sir. You don't seem to dispute the fact that you ran up a substantial phone bill.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how much was the phone bill that he ran up?
His cost came up to $1,000.
Can I see that, please? Oh.
We initially got our phones in January. I believe I had Corey's phone disconnected towards the end of April, the beginning of May.
4 months.
Right, but his calls ran into like June and July.
Okay, so the bills are really in his name. This says total Nextel charges for Corey, right? On the bill it says for Corey.
I've never seen the bill.
Well, we'll show it to you. Actually, it's $1,007.37.
Correct.
Because you had a phone that allowed you to make as many local calls as you wanted, but not long-distance calls?
Right. Corey's charges are more long-distance than anything.
Corey, who do you talk to so much, sir?
I talk to people everywhere.
Where are most of your
I
friends?
was out of town then. I was out of town then.
You were out of town.
Yeah. And I was calling back.
Your defense to this action is that you did spend the money on jabbering away long distance, but that the plaintiff did damage to your car.
Yeah.
And the damage to your car is more than your long distance calls, right? That's your defense.
Yes.
So, show me. What kind of damage did she do to your car?
Cut my tires and put sugar in my tank.
Did you witness her doing that?
No,
Have a look
but
at me.
my witness, I have a witness here.
So the answer is you did not witness her
No.
doing that. But you have a witness who I'm
Yes.
prepared to hear. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
Anthony McKinney.
Are you related?
Yeah, I'm his brother.
Now tell me what you observed on May 7th.
I was coming home from out playing basketball, and I seen her truck over there at the house when I was walking in the house. I really didn't see her really do it, but next morning I got up and he was outside going crazy. I was like, went over to see what was wrong. He said somebody had put sugar in my tank and cut the tires. I said, well, last night when I was coming home, I seen her over there and left the house. But I really didn't pay any attention to it because they were seeing each other off and on at the time, considering the phone bills and everything. So I
Sir,
really,
did you see her on May 7th?
I seen her the day before.
On May 6th?
May 7th. That day.
Where did you see her?
She came over to the house.
To visit with you?
Yes. He said he seen her that night.
Sit down. Sit down, sir. Well, tell me about the conversation that you had with her on May 7th.
She saw about the phone bill.
And what did you say to her about the
I
phone
told her I
bill?
wasn't going to pay the bill.
Did you tell her why?
But she had the phone turned off. I didn't even use it.
Well, she
I
had
never
the
did
phone-
see the bill. She never showed me the bill.
Now I'll hear you. You went over to his house on May the 7th?
I don't recall. I have talked to Corey numerous times on the phone, over our 2A radio pertaining to the bill. Corey has seen our Nextel bills. He left to go out of town. His thing was, I'll take care of it when I come back from Texas. Don't worry about it. Don't trip, Carla. You know, I'm not going to leave you out there like that. I'm going to pay the bill. I don't recall being at Corey's house on May 7th. It's a possibility, because I was at Corey's house plenty of times.
Did you slash his tires?
Of course not.
Did you put sugar in his gas tank?
Of course not. And me and Corey talked about this. He brought the damages up that I did to his car when I called him and asked him when was he going to pay his bill. And he said, I'm not. You had my phone shut off. I said, well, yeah, Corey, because the bill is at $1,300. He even called me when he was in Texas to say that I slashed his girlfriend's tires on her car as well. It's like, you know, Corey, I don't have time for this. I'm working 2 jobs. I don't have time to drive around town to look and vandalize Corey's vehicle.
Now, these phones, the bills were actually in your uncle's name?
The bill is in my uncle's name, but we are the sole responsible party.
I understand that, but the bills are in your uncle's name. If they were to sue somebody, they were going to sue your uncle.
Right.
Right? And your uncle knew that he was behind in the bills.
Right. He knew that he wasn't paying them.
But he wasn't paying them.
So where's her uncle?
There were other people, sir, who had a motive to do nasties to your car, right?
Yes, correct.
Those are only people that I know. Anybody else not like you, sir?
No.
You sure about that? Okay. You have
Where's her uncle at?
You have it, what?
Where's her uncle at? Shouldn't he be here?
No, why?
He signed for the phones.
So what? She's responsible because she promised her uncle that, despite the fact that the uncle signed for the phones, the two of you were going to be responsible. Duh. You still have the same girlfriend that you had in May?
No.
When did you break up with the May girlfriend?
In June.
In June? Well, June's pretty close to May. Had you been fighting with your girlfriend?
No.
You mean it just came on all of a sudden that you broke up with her?
Yeah. But this
There
happened
may
in-
be somebody else that didn't like you.
It happened in May.
And when were her tires?
We was on good terms then.
You were on really good terms.
Good terms.
Oh, good terms. Well, Mr. McKinney, we may never find out who put sugar in your tank, sir. But we sure know who made all these phone calls. That was you. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount requested, $1,007.37. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 13 on the calendar in the matter of Saraceno versus Saraceno. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Saraceno, you are currently the trustee and I assume the executor of your mother's estate. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that was relatively recent circumstance because prior to that, your brother was the trustee and executor of her estate. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
When did your mother pass away?
She passed away on November 10th, 1998.
It was October 10th.
Or October 10th, I'm sorry.
When your mother passed away, one of the things of value in her estate was a house. Your claim is that the defendant, who is your niece, is living in the house, refuses to pay rent, and refuses to move out of the house.
That's correct.
You are suing her for $1,500 for rent. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
For what months, sir?
I became the trustee on January 10th, so I would want fair rent from January 10th to the present.
When did you first advise her that you wanted her to pay rent?
The beginning of February.
In January, you didn't tell her you wanted rent.
No, I did not.
He's never told me.
Shh. Did you tell her how much rent you wanted?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
How much did you tell her?
$400 a month.
And what did she say when you told her you wanted $400 a month?
She had talked to her father,
Who was your brother?
who is my brother. She told me that he did not say that she had to pay rent and that she could live there without paying rent.
Okay. How old are you?
21.
What do you do?
I'm a telemarketer.
How much do you make a week?
400
How long have you been a telemarketer?
for like 2 months.
What did you do before that?
I did home care for elders.
Who else lives in the house?
My aunt and my cousins.
How many cousins?
2.
Your aunt, is that your sister?
Yes.
Does she pay any rent?
No, she does not, Your Honor.
Is that with your permission?
Not expressly, but as to this point, that would be fine, yes. I don't have a problem with that.
Is there any reason why you want your niece to pay rent?
Because the house has certain bills and obligations. It has taxes that it has to pay.
Why would, I'm just curious, why would you allow your sister and her children live there rent-free and not allow your niece to live there rent-free?
Because my sister has a drug habit, okay? She doesn't have anywhere else to go. The only other alternative is to put her out in the street, and I just don't have the heart to do that at this time.
And
Shh, I'm not finished yet. Well, you may not have the heart to do that, but you can understand why your niece says, why should my cousins be allowed to live rent-free in the house, and I not be allowed to live in the house rent-free when my aunt could work just as well as I can. She's a lot older than I am. She could work. And my uncle is letting his sister and her family live there rent-free. I love my grandmother, too. Why can't I live there?
That's a very good question. I have a very good answer, Your Honor.
I'm ready for you,
The
sir.
reason is she just recently moved into that house a couple of weeks ago. Before that time, she had her own house
Who's
that she
she?
was living in.
Who's she?
My sister Carmela. She had her own house that she was living in, adjacent to my mom's house, and she was living there rent-free.
Your sister was living in another house of your mother's rent-free?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you sell that house?
No, it's still in the trust.
Well, is there another tenant in there?
Yes, there is.
So you put a paying tenant in that house that more than covered the expenses on that house.
No, Your Honor.
Why don't you sell the other house?
There's a lot of legal fees. There are bills that have to be paid. There's a $6,600 electric bill that needs to be paid on my sister's house.
Why didn't she pay it? What are you taking that out on your niece for?
I am not complaining about that, Your Honor. I am just stating that her house cannot be sold because of that.
Because of an electric bill?
Carmela's house, my sister's house, yes.
It's not your sister's house. You said it's part of the trust.
None of them have been divided yet. She will get a share of that property.
Are the grandchildren mentioned as beneficiaries of the trust?
Teresa and Saraceno.
But 2 grandchildren, but not the defendant.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to take a look at your papers as trustee.
Okay.
Property.
There you go.
Okay. Now, Ms. Saraceno, I have just a few questions for you. Do you work as a telemarketer every day?
Yes.
What do you work hours?
9 to 5.
And you work Monday through Friday?
Yes.
What time do you usually get up to go to work?
At 7 o'clock.
And you report directly to work?
Yes.
What do you do after work?
I come home and I make sure my cousin does his homework, and I make sure that his clothes are clean for the next day, and then I cook dinner.
You do that 5 days a week?
Yep. Yes.
The reason I ask these questions, which seem rather odd, even to Bird, right?
Yes.
Under the circumstances, is that this is your claim. You claim in your answer that your grandmother's will states that any member of the family, the Saraceno family, who continually puts flowers on her gravesite every Thursday may reside in the residence after her passing rent-free. That's what you say. And that is the basis of your defense.
Yes, but
Okay?
I have this.
So let me see that clause in the will.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Saraceno says his niece, Bettina Saraceno, owes for unpaid rent. Bettina says the house belonged to her late grandmother, and it was her wish that she live there, rent-free.
This doesn't talk about you. You're not Teresa, you're Bettina.
But also right here, I have the,
This talks about 2 other grandchildren.
Yes, I know.
Not you.
This one I have right here, where it's highlighted.
Well, this doesn't say anything about placing flowers on your grandmother's grave every Thursday,
The
madam.
other, I know.
Doesn't say anything about that. All right, so that's not a defense. And this section that you're talking to me about says that the trustee has the right to sell the property, let somebody else live there, rent it. So it's within your uncle's discretion whether or not you can live there. You understand that?
Yes.
So there is no defense to this action. You have to either pay rent or he told you to move, which is very unfortunate. I mean, which is really very unfortunate, because I really think that you're being unfair and inequitable unless there was some reason you would think that your mother would not want this grandchild to have any benefit from her property. Is there any reason?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that?
The defendant has a drug habit.
So does your sister.
They both do, yes. And to be honest with you, I would want both of them out. But she doesn't pay rent. She doesn't do nothing. I told her to leave, and she would not do it, Your Honor.
You didn't answer my... Just a second. You didn't answer my question, sir. I'm asking you a question. I expect... Just a second. I'm not going to need this witness. She can step outside. If she needs water, go... Madam, do you need water? Do you need water?
No.
Go outside. Go outside. Don't cough here. Go, 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 go.
Your Honor, ask the question again. I will answer it.
Maybe you'll understand it better if I ask it to you this way. Did your mother have a relationship with the defendant?
No.
You didn't see her?
Very rarely.
Yes, she did.
How rarely is very rarely?
Maybe once every 3 months.
And what about your sister's children? They lived right next door.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did your mother ever give you any indication that she was aware of your sister's drug habit?
Yes, Your Honor.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I live right across the street.
Listen, there is no question in my mind that your uncle is being unreasonable. He would not be unreasonable were he not to have permitted his sister, who he says is a drug addict, and her 2 children to live in the home rent-free. But he is the trustee of this estate. It is his prerogative to tell you to move. That's his prerogative. I don't believe that you had an arrangement with her for rent. You didn't even become trustee until January 10th. And you did not tell her until February that you wanted her to pay rent. Is that right? And there was never an agreement to pay rent by her with you.
Correct.
He didn't tell me he wanted...
Listen, you're not losing, right? So there was never an agreement for her to pay rent. So what you have to do, Mr. Saraceno, is proceed with eviction proceedings against your niece, if that's what you wish to do, because absent a lease, either an oral lease, which you can have month to month, or a written lease, there is no contract, and therefore there is no contract that this court can enforce. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We just have friends come over, that's it.
It's like one big crack house, you know?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Romanchek, Humphreys versus Romanchek. Step forward.
53-year-old homemaker Mary Romanchek and her fiancé, Stephen Humphreys, are suing Mary's son, 18-year-old student Jason Romanchek, for a car loan, a computer, and emotional distress. Jason says the car was a birthday present.
According to your complaint, the defendant, your son, took a car that was yours when he left your home, and in addition, he ruined a computer, and he gave you a lot of aggravation, so you want to be compensated for that.
Yes, Your Honor.
All to the tune of $5,000. So tell me first about the car, which your son says was a gift to him.
Okay, Your Honor, I have a receipt, but the car is mine.
Well, that's a conclusion.
Okay.
When was the car purchased?
It was purchased a long time ago. Jason stole the pink slip, and he stole the...
When was the car purchased? Do you know?
Around March 29th or so.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Now, the title to the car is in your name and your son's name. How much did you pay for the car?
$2,500 something, $3,000.
Ms. Romanchek?
Yes.
Your lawsuit involves a car. Get out the receipt for the car so you can show me how much you paid for the car.
Your Honor, I cannot give you receipts for the car because Jason took it.
Then you must know how much you paid for the car. How do you expect me to decide a lawsuit?
I have a little piece of paper in my suitcase that I didn't know I was needed that. A little piece of paper in my little black suitcase.
Get it.
Where is the suitcase?
I haven't a clue. I'm not a
Shield
suitcase
ready.
monitor.
Thank you.
Come this way, man.
Could I see the piece of paper, please?
And here it is, the price of what was in the vehicle.
This says you paid $7,450 for the car.
You must have the wrong one.
Oh, then I must have it. But I was purchasing two vehicles, Your Honor. One van for me, and second car for me is that little one, that little white car.
Did you give her the wrong one?
That's the only one I have because Jason took my...
Whatever. But this is very good that you showed me this because this is very, very good. So at the time you purchased two cars, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You purchased a car for $7,450, and that was your car, and then you purchased another car, and then I assume you put the title to that car in your name. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, I put it on my name and my fiancé name, yes.
Fine.
Because we are going to be driving.
And the second car you purchased, you put in your name or your son's name.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you say your son subsequently left the home. When did he leave your house?
August of 15.
And he took the car with him?
And no, not right away, Your Honor. Then he came back on August of 18 and brought a tow truck with him and cut two clubs and
he took the car?
And he took the car, yes.
Jason, you say this car was a birthday present for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me about that.
They said I can use and keep the car as long as I keep good grades in school, which I have. And then an incident between her and her squirrel that she caught. I wasn't going to feed it because it was her responsibility.
To feed a squirrel?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then she went all crazy over it. And then suddenly she just went in my room and just broke the keyboard off the computer. And then she just said that I had to leave or just do whatever she said.
So you left and you wanted to take the car?
Yes.
Who has insurance on this car?
Right now there's no insurance.
Who's driving it?
I'm driving it, but
Well, how can you drive a car that has no insurance, Jason?
I didn't want to get insurance because I don't know what the whole deal because of this court thing.
Did you change the title on the car?
We found out that we couldn't because she already changed it somehow.
You changed the title just to your name?
Yes, Your Honor. When Jason left, I went to...
Just a second.
Oh, sure.
You went to motor vehicles and had the car changed to your name only?
Yes, Your Honor.
So get the police to go and get the car.
What
do you want from me? I'm not going to make an order for him to pay you for the car.
I went with the policeman. He did not give a car to us.
He said it was a civil matter.
The policeman said that.
No, it's not a civil matter. If you have the title to a car, you haven't gotten the complete title yet. Because right now all that's there is a title that's in both names, right? But you went and changed that to your name.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you should get something like this, which has a title that is just in your name.
Any day.
Any day. Well,
Yes.
once you get it, go and get the car.
Yeah,
That's
Your
it.
Honor. Yes, okay, thank you.
Perfect. Now, tell me about the computer.
He got in it and took some parts. Here's the estimate what it cost for me to put my computer back together so I can use it again.
To her computer?
I took the parts that I purchased.
Which parts did you purchase?
I took RAM and the hard drive that I paid for.
From what money?
Well, my friend got it for me, but in trade I gave him a computer that I built by hand.
So you didn't pay for this part?
Not technically.
Not technically. And what other part did you take out?
The hard drive.
Isn't that an important part, Bert?
Very, very important.
I mean, I don't know anything about computers, but
That's
a
why
hard
we keep all that
drive,
information.
hard drive sounds like a very important part.
More
What
than
made
that,
you
Your
take
Honor.
out the hard drive?
I purchased it.
How much did you pay for it?
30 or something like that.
Why did you take those things out if you knew that it would render the computer inoperable?
Because I paid for it at the time.
You were nasty. So if what you paid for was maybe $30 from all these things and you rendered your mother's computer inoperable, that was pretty nasty. Right?
I guess.
You guess, I'm telling you.
Your
Let me
Honor,
see.
I can tell you where he got the money to pay for it.
No, I don't want the computer, sir. I don't touch those
He
things.
got the money to pay for it. He took my part that he came with the computer. You ask him where he got the money? He sold it to my older son's wife for $100 to do the other thing. Then he took everything out. That's when you ask him about the money.
To put it back to the original way it was when it was new.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $990.
Certainly, certainly. He had no reason to incapacitate this computer. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
You know, you just did it to be nasty. What'd you do with the two pieces that you took
Put
out?
them in my new computer.
You have any other children?
Yes, Your Honor. I have one older one, and he turned out pretty lousy. I don't
The
know
older
why.
one
He was
too?
no good. Pardon me?
The older one too?
Yes, Your Honor, yes.
Mrs. Romacek, the car you have to go and get as soon as you get the title. And I suggest, just to be smart, madam, that until you get the car back in your possession, you keep it insured. I would strongly suggest that to you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your
Just to be smart. He's your child. You want to protect your assets. I would suggest you put an insurance policy in effect on that car just to cover yourself. You're not getting any money for doing that, but you are going to get money for the pieces that he took out of your computer in the amount of $245. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 52 on the calendar in the matter of Morrow versus Mitchell Hanna. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Which one are you?
Mitchell.
Your first name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, that's not an appropriate way to come to court. If you ever have to go to court again, you don't come to court showing your midriff. Do you understand? It's inappropriate. That's much better. Again. Try it again. Good. Miss Morrow, you were at a friend's house. According to your complaint, these two girls took off in your car without your permission and wrecked it. You want them and their parents to be responsible for that.
Right.
And there is no question on the other side that you did not have her permission to drive the car at that time. Is that right?
I thought we did.
I didn't care what you thought. Neither one of you had permission to drive her car at that time. One of you took the keys and one of you was driving. Is that correct?
Yes.
So all you have to do, Miss Morrow, is hand me the estimate. The car's not running anymore?
No.
Okay, good. So I have the Blue Book breakdown for the car. Okay, you were at a friend's house. Your car is parked outside. Who's going to talk first?
I will.
Fine.
Okay, we were all at my house, and Nikki got mad at Brooke. Well, she wasn't really mad.
Nikki
She was
got mad
upset.
at the plaintiff.
Yes, because of boy problems.
Could you keep your voice up, please?
I'm sorry. And she wanted to talk to me, so I said, let's go for a walk. And we went back in the house, and I told everybody that we were going to go for a walk, and she went back into, like, by my room. And we went back outside and walked around my house, and when we were walking outside my house, she handed me Brooke's keys. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, we're going to take Brooke's car. I said, well, does Brooke know? Because I don't want to take her car without her knowing. And she said, yeah, she knows. I asked her when we went back inside. I didn't really think it was that big of a deal because Brooke lets us drive her car all the time. So I was just like, okay, because she wanted to talk to me. So we got in the car and we started driving.
Who's we driving?
I was driving.
How old are you?
15.
So you have no license?
No.
Go ahead.
And we were driving around neighborhoods, and as I was making a left-hand turn, Nikki says to me, get on the curb and let's have some fun. And I was like, no, 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 don't be stupid. I don't want to get in a car accident. And as I was making the turn, she turned the wheel. I did not grab the wheel, Your Honor.
Don't speak yet.
And then we ran into the house and...
You ran into a house with her car?
Yeah.
Idiot. All right, now let's see your version of what happened.
What happened was me and Jenny were outside of her house and we were sitting there talking, and she was mad because of this guy that she was talking to, her ex-boyfriend. He was there and he was getting ready to go to a girl's house, and she said, "Nikki, go get the keys." And I said, okay. I went and got him out of the bathroom, and I came back and I handed him to her, and she said, okay, let's go. So we...
All right, let's stop right there. Miss, it wasn't my fault. I had nothing to do with it. She told you to go get the keys.
Yes.
And you went into the bathroom. You didn't go to the plaintiff and say, can I have the car keys? Can I borrow your car?
No.
You just went into the bathroom. Now, where in the bathroom were her car keys?
They were on the sink.
And I assume you had seen them there before.
Yes.
Because that's not usually where you keep car keys, on the bathroom sink, right?
No.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 16.
So you went inside, did not get permission
No.
from anybody, just took the car keys, came outside, and gave them to your friend. Now, do you have a driver's license?
No, I don't.
So you took the keys, gave them to her,
Yes.
unlicensed, and you took off.
Yes.
Now, tell me what happened when you took off.
We went driving around, and we went into this country club area. It was really nice, and we were driving, and she said, let's go up on the curb. And I was like, you can do whatever, but be careful. And so she was going around a corner, and I guess she lost control and stepped on the gas instead of the brake, and we hit the house on the corner. And as soon as we had wrecked, she said, I accidentally stepped on the gas instead of the brake.
I never said that. It's not really what happened.
And then we got out and
All
we left.
right, now, which parent belongs to this genius? Stand up, please. Your last name is Mitchell?
Yes.
I would like you to, in 30 seconds or less, tell me why your daughter isn't responsible for half the damage.
Is not responsible?
Yeah.
She is responsible for half the damage.
That's right. Have a seat. You're Mr. Hanna?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell me in 30 seconds or less why your daughter isn't responsible for half the damage?
For one, she wasn't the driver of the vehicle, and at 12:30 at night, I expect my daughter, when she's spending the night at a friend's house, to be at that friend's house and not be leaving. The next morning, when I went over to the house to pick the kids up, there's empty beer containers and a keg of beer in the living room floor.
What does that have to do with us stealing car keys and going for a joyride in somebody's car? Nobody's alleging that anybody was drunk.
I didn't
Your
say
daughter
that.
didn't say that she was drunk or the other girl was drunk. What does one thing have to do with another?
She wasn't driving the vehicle.
She stole the keys. She stole the keys. What word would you like me to explain to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think that you're pretty stupid to have allowed, even in the past, either of these two girls to drive your car. And if you're going to do stupid things, you got to be prepared for the consequences.
And later today,
I banged on the roof of the car. I cursed at her.
He was enraged and asked me to open up my driver's side door. And I told him, what are you, crazy? I'm not opening up my door.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Brooke Morrow says former friends, 15-year-old Jennifer Mitchell and 16-year-old Nikki Hanna, stole the keys to her car and wrecked it. Jennifer and Nikki are blaming each other for the accident.
Okay, she stole the keys and gave it to the person who drove the car, and she went with her.
She didn't put a gun to her head and say, you have to drive.
Let me explain something to you, sir. I assume that you are not in the legal profession. So let me explain something to you. If two people are walking in the street and they see a brand new car, and one of them says, I'm going to jimmy open the door. When I do, you get in and drive, and we're going to take this car for a drive. And that's what they do. They are equally as guilty. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, your daughter went into a house, stole somebody else's keys, because when you take something without permission, that is a theft. Gave them to her co-conspirator, who happened to drive the car. But your daughter is 16, and your daughter knows that she doesn't have a license to drive a car, shouldn't be driving a car. So not only did your daughter steal the car keys, but she gave the car keys to somebody who she knew shouldn't be driving and got in the car and drove with her. So they are equally as responsible. I want to know who paid for the damage that was done to the house.
The homeowner's insurance paid for that.
What a shame. I would have loved to have had that case. When did you get this car?
August of 2000.
It was a gift?
Yeah.
Who bought it for you?
My grandparents.
How much did they pay for it?
$1,000.
Who did they buy it from?
My stepdad.
So they got a good deal, right? You got a good deal on the car because its present wholesale value is, according to this, $1,250.
Yeah, he knocked off a couple hundred.
Of course he did. Now, I have one question to ask you. Well, maybe two. Have you given permission at any other time for either of these two girls to drive your car?
Yes.
Why?
Just being nice. Just letting them, just for fun.
How old are you?
19.
I want you to listen to me very carefully. You risk everything when you let somebody drive your car that is unlicensed. Not only do you risk them having a serious accident and hurting somebody, and you would be responsible for that, but if they were in an accident, your insurance company wouldn't cover that. They would say, sue her. I assume you don't have a lot of money right now, but someday you will, and if you're going to do stupid things, you got to be prepared for the consequences. Anyway, I just changed my mind. I was going to give you the wholesale value of the car. I'm just knocking it down to $1,000 that was paid for the car because I think that you're pretty stupid to have allowed even in the past either of these two girls to drive your car. And I'm awarding you $1,000 and each of the girls will pay $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They had ran my car into a house and it was totaled. I didn't touch the wheel. They stole it and wrecked it. And
She did. Grab the wheel.
we're not friends anymore.
And we
We're
aren't
not
friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brosnan versus Rios. Step forward, please.
Food service worker Kathleen Brosnan is suing New York firefighter Stephen Rios for kicking her car in a fit of road rage.
Miss Brosnan, it is your claim that the defendant, while in a fit of road rage, caused some damage to your car by punching it or kicking it.
Yes.
You didn't know him before?
No.
You were just driving along a parkway?
Yes.
Is that right? Mr. Rios seems to acknowledge that he lost his temper on that day. He was having a bad day, but he said he caused no damage to your car. So, tell me when this happened.
On September 22nd.
Where?
On the Southern State Parkway.
Can you hold on one sec? Stand still, because you're making me a little
Okay.
woozy.
The Southern State Parkway at exit 17.
And did you get on at exit 17?
No. I was driving on the parkway and the incident had happened at exit 17.
What incident?
The incident where he had chased me and kicked my car.
Tell me about him chasing your car.
Okay. I was driving on the parkway on September 22nd. I was going to my boyfriend's job. And around exit 17, I noticed that Mr. Rios was a little bit too close behind my car. So I sped up a little bit to let him know that he was too close to me. And when I did that, he sped up too. And after he sped up, I went to turn on my right-hand signal to change lanes.
You were driving in the fast lane?
Yes. And I wanted to get in the right-hand lane over at the other side. And Mr. Rios did the same thing and almost cut me off. And then I proceeded to go into the next lane.
So you were driving in the fast lane, the strike speeding lane, the passing lane.
Yes.
And he was behind you, and then you got over to the middle lane.
Yes.
And he got over to the middle lane.
Yes.
And then you got over to the far right lane.
Yes.
The slow lane, the granny lane.
Yes.
Did he follow you over to the granny lane?
Yes, he did. And I proceeded to, I sped away to get away from him.
A little nervous? Okay, take a breath. What exit did you get off the parkway?
I got off the parkway at exit 32.
And what happened when you got off at exit 32?
When I get off at exit 32, I was ready to go to sit for a red light, and I didn't notice Mr. Rios behind me. Mr. Rios sped his car in front of mine to cut me off, and I slammed on the brake so that I don't cause an accident. And when he did this, he proceeded to get out of his van, and he cursed me and asked me to open up my driver's side door. And I told him, "What are you, crazy? I'm not opening up my door." So after this, he was enraged, and after that, he had kicked my car.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathleen Brosnan says fellow motorist Stephen Rios chased her down and kicked her car in a fit of road rage. Stephen admits he lost his temper, but claims he caused no damage.
Okay. Now, what time of the day or night was this?
1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
So it was light out?
Uh-huh.
Can I see the damage to your car, please?
It's right there.
And you were driving alone?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Rios. Now I'll hear you, sir.
It certainly didn't follow her at exit 17 or 19 because I didn't get on the Southern State Parkway until approximately exit 26. I commute the same way. I've been driving here for over 22 years coming home from work. I observed the gray car get onto the parkway at somewhere around exit 27, I thought. They were one of those people, they're bobbing in the right lane, left lane, trying to get nowhere, going nowhere fast. At that point, I observed the car, what I perceived was probably going to try to squeeze in front of me with not enough room. So I tried to, move up a little bit so they wouldn't come in. They cut in front of me. After about maybe a quarter mile, we were 2 feet off each other's bumper.
No, we weren't 2 feet off each other's bumper, right. Mr. Rios. You were 2 feet off her bumper.
Right. She squeezed in front of me.
No, she squeezed in front of you, and then you were 2 feet off her bumper. You're not 2 feet off each other's bumper.
But there was maybe 20 feet between me and the car in front of me. So I perceived she squeezed in front of me with not enough room to be in a safe driving area.
I'm following you, but then you said you were proceeding.
Right, we proceeded.
And you were proceeding, and you were on her tail.
Yes.
All right. I got it.
At that point in time, I didn't realize whether it was a guy or a girl. They were hitting their brakes. I decided to move into the right lane, get away from it. The car started making 4 or 5 attempts to actually cut me off. At that point in time, they were so close to me, I actually thought they made contact with my car. As we got up to exit 32, I saw the car get off the ramp. I followed them off the ramp, and right off the ramp, there was a stop sign. So I cut in front of the car and jumped out because I thought they were trying to get away. When I got to the window, I realized it was a woman, and she closed the window. She was cursing me, giving me the finger. So I banged on the roof of the car. I cursed at her and then drove away. At the next light, she was behind me now. She got out of her car and approached my window. I got out. We exchanged words in the street, and that was what I thought was the end of it.
By the way, what exit do you get off at to go to your home?
I get off at exit 42. I take the parkway to the end, and then I have to continue further on.
So you actually exited the parkway at that point to follow the plaintiff?
No, I did not exit to follow her.
Yes, you did. You exited to follow the plaintiff.
I believe she had struck my car, so I got...
No, Mr. Rios, please. I don't want you to make up any story, sir.
I am not making up any
That's making up a story.
No.
If you drive and commute every day, you know whether somebody hits your car or not. And you exited the parkway because you were angry. That's not your exit.
I actually believed that she made contact with my vehicle, and I was scared for my life. I'd been commuting for over...
Shh, please. Mr. Rios, I read your answer. I mean, if you stick with your answer, maybe you'll be successful here today so that you won't get pulverized. Your answer was that you had a very bad day and that you lost your temper. Well, that's what you said.
No.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I did not say I had a very bad day.
Well, I would suggest, sir, your answer was you were returning from a funeral of a fellow firefighter.
Right.
Okay, on that day. That's a bad day. That wasn't an ordinary work day. That was a bad day. And you say you lost your temper. And you say you acknowledge hitting her car.
Yeah,
you acknowledge hitting her car. Your defense is that you didn't cause any damage.
I had been commuting for over 20 years, the same route. I've never had an experience like this in my life. And I actually thought she made contact with my car. She was so close to me.
Mr.
I
Rios.
followed her off the parkway to stop her because I thought she was trying to get away. And then I banged on the roof of her car, yes.
Now, Mr. Rios, you followed her off the parkway because you thought she was trying to get away.
Right.
Then you got out of your car, and what did you do?
I approached the car.
You got out of your car, and the first thing you did was approach her car.
Yes.
And what did she say to you?
She had the windows rolled up, and she was making gestures with the window closed up.
Okay, and then you hit her, according to you, the roof of her car, the hood of her car. Is that right? And then what is the very next thing you did?
I walked away.
You walked away where?
I walked to my car, got in my car, and actually drove away.
Okay. Now, Mr. Rios, did you tell me every single thing that happened from the time you followed her off the parkway until the time you got back into your car?
Yes.
What happened, Mr. Rios, to your examining your car to see if it was damaged in any way? Where's that step, Mr. Rios? If what you say is true, that you followed her off the parkway because you thought she had damaged your car, the first thing that you do once you cut her off is to take a look and see, is my car damaged or is my car not damaged? If my car is not damaged, then I get back into my car and I go away. If you're making up a story, which is exactly what you did, then you don't even bother to look at your car.
No, I'm not making up a story.
Does that sound logical to you, Bert?
Totally.
Totally. Let me see an estimate, please. Mr. Rios, you lost your temper. Lost your temper, you pay for the damage. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $543.15. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 161 on the calendar. In the matter of Laughlin versus Campbell.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Laughlin, you dated the defendant for a brief period of time. He was married at the time, and you claim a series of loans. While he says he does acknowledge that you gave him some money, $1,600, you say it was substantially more than that. He said that that was a gift. He also has a counterclaim for some nonsense that I'll get to in a minute. When did you meet him?
I met him in September of 2001.
Where?
At Atlantis nightclub in Reno, Nevada.
And when did you start dating?
We started dating soon thereafter.
When did you find out he was married?
I found out in a phone conversation about a week after that.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
When did you meet?
Same date she told you, in the evening.
Okay, because you say in your answer that you met New Year's 2002.
Right.
Well, what do you mean right? Was it September or was it in December?
It was in September.
So you made a mistake?
Yes.
You're not going to make any more mistakes?
I hope not.
Good. When do you say you told her you were married?
I told her that night at the nightclub.
Did you tell her you were separated from your wife?
Yes, I did.
Okay. When was the first time that you loaned him money?
January 25th of 2002.
How much and for what?
I loaned him $2,060, and it was for a car title loan. He had a negative checking account, bounced checks. He needed a vehicle, so I loaned him $500 to buy a vehicle from his brother.
Yeah, well, where's the $2,060?
I have it on here on my statements. It's my statements that show the actual amount of money that I loaned him.
Let me see what you're talking about. Those statements.
Your Honor, I never received any loan.
Just a shh, Mr. Campbell. I let you shout out once. It's the last time.
The
Just
yellow.
a second. Wait. The yellow marks are his?
The yellow marks are the chunks of money that I loaned him. The large cash advances.
No. This is Denny's, Sports Bar, Hilton Hotels.
If you look at the yellow tabs, ma'am, those are the large chunks of money. Those other things were things we did together. Basically, I was supporting the whole relationship.
So what? I don't care if you were supporting the whole relationship. That's your business. You brought this thing. Do you expect this as part of your lawsuit to be reimbursed to you?
The yellow ones, I do, because those were large sums of money that I paid off the bills, and I have the actual
Just a minute. What's C&W Atlantis Casino in Reno?
That's where we met.
$634.99.
That's correct. I obtained a cash advance that date, which
for what?
It was for his storage unit. It was in the rears, and he asked if I would help him.
From a casino? You got this money at a casino to give him?
I obtained the cash advance at a casino, yes, ma'am.
Peppermill Front Desk, Reno.
That's correct.
$165. What is that?
That was actually a party that his friends had in our room. We had obtained a room to spend the night together, and when we came back,
is this part of your lawsuit?
His friends.
Is this part of your lawsuit?
Yes.
Forget it.
Okay.
I want you to forget all the orange tabs, all the blue tabs, all this stuff. If you decide to support this relationship by going out for dinner, by taking out small amounts of money, $100, $200, $500, don't come crying to me. That's your stupidity. If you made a loan to him, then I'm prepared to hear it. Now, you say you loaned him $2,060 for something for his car and title?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that in one lump sum?
Yes, it is. It's the first cash advance that you will find on that statement that's marked yellow.
It's $2,000 plus a $60 finance charge.
Yes.
Okay.
And we paid.
Now, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah.
Let's come to you. Be very careful about your answer, sir. Did there come a time when you had some problems with something that had to do with your car and you needed $2,000?
No, I did not need $2,000.
Did she give you $2,000?
No, she never gave me $2,000. She gave me $1,600, Your Honor.
When?
I believe it was about 2 months after we started dating.
Tell me about it.
All right, we were driving around, and she said she wanted to go out of town for the weekend. And, I was driving her car, and we pulled up to the bank. at her bank. I asked her, what are we doing here? And she said, you need this money to pay off your car. And I told her specifically, I didn't want to do it because I, wasn't employed at the time, and I didn't have the money to pay you back.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
No, it isn't. And anyways, Your Honor, she insisted, saying that I love you, don't worry about it,
So you're driving around, going away for a weekend, is that right?
Exactly.
And she pulled up in front of, come on, continue.
We pulled up in front of the bank, and we had a, small argument about the money. And I told her, if you wanted to give me the money, that was fine. I would take it. But I could not take it if it was a loan because I could not pay you back.
She's still in the car at this time. Is that right? And you said, no, I can't pay you back.
Exactly.
And she said, no, I insist that you take the money because I want to help you.
Right.
Now, did both of you get out of the car to go to the cash machine?
No, just her.
And she was gone for a few minutes and she came back into the car?
Ma'am.
What happened when she got back into the car?
She got in the car and, she asked me for my wallet. And I said, what for? And she says, just give me your wallet. So I gave her my wallet and she put $1,600 cash in my wallet and said, here's, for whatever you need to take care of. And I told her, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because that's on you. I can't give you the money back. I can't promise you I'll give you the money back. And she said, no, don't worry about it. I love you. I just want to be with you, and I want to be, you to be happy.
Okay. Shh. Don't say anything. Did you, in fact, go away that weekend?
We did. We left that later
afternoon.
that evening.
Where did you go on your weekend?
We went to Fort Bragg.
You went to Fort Bragg?
Fort Bragg, California.
What did you do there?
Just hung out.
Okay. Had she picked you up at your house, sir, or did you pick her up?
She picked me up.
What time of the day did she pick you up?
It was early in the morning.
And she drove you directly over to the bank?
Not at that time. We hung out and were doing things and whatnot. And, later on in the afternoon, she came up with the idea.
But you had a pleasant morning together?
Yeah.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to, in a moment, get me the name of the best psychiatrists that we can find here, because this man clearly is psychotic.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She had came over to my house in the middle of the night.
Right, and how much did she give you in the middle of the night?
She never gave me anything in the middle.
Well, then why did you say she did? What was in your mind?
I loved him. I
know. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Erica Laughlin says ex-boyfriend Sean Campbell owes for a series of unpaid loans. Sean says the money was a gift. He is countersuing for slander and harassment.
Okay, Bird, I want to read you what he swore to in his answer about this $1,600. May I for a moment? I want you to indulge me.
I have nothing.
Mr. Campbell, I want you to indulge me. Stand up and get your hands off there. We dated for a total of a month and a half, and I told her I wanted to end the relationship because I had to concentrate on my divorce and getting a new job. About a month later, she showed up drunk at my house in the middle of the night. She begged me to get back together with her and told me she would take care of my bills. I told her I wouldn't be able to take her back, and she said she was doing it because she loved me and wanted to see me happy. At this time, she gave me $1,600 in cash. Duh!
Yeah, it's true.
What do you mean? This is true? So she gave you $3,200. She gave you $1,600 when she showed up at your house drunk one night, and she gave you another $1,600 when you were driving around on your way to Fort Bragg? Is that what you're telling me?
No, Your Honor.
Well, which story is correct, Mr. Campbell? The story that you just told me, that you were driving around, she went to an ATM, she took out the money. Just listen to this. Listen to how careful he is. She asked me for my wallet. I took out my wallet. She put in $1,600. Or this psychotic drunk woman shows up in his house in the middle of the night and takes out $1,600 and puts it in his wallet. Which story is correct, sir?
Your Honor.
No, I want you to tell me which story is correct. The one you swore to here, or the one you just told me?
The one I just told you, Your Honor.
Now, how am I supposed to tell which one is true, sir? This one you swore to. Now, you may have written your answer some time ago, but I assume if you did it some time ago, then your memory was fresher of the events than it is now at some later time. So how am I supposed to believe anything that you say, Mr. Campbell? Try to explain that to me.
Your Honor.
Mr. Campbell?
We had met at the nightclub.
Forget the nightclub. We're past the nightclub, sir. We're at the $1,600. Was she drunk in the middle of the night when she gave it to you, or were you sitting in a car on your way on a vacation when she gave it to you?
We were sitting in her car. After she came out from the bank, she got in the passenger seat and gave me the $1,600. Actually,
well,
she
where
put the
did you get this
$1,600
business with her being drunk in the middle of the night?
That was another time.
Another $1,600?
She had given me...
Go ahead.
She had given, came over to my house in the middle of the night, harassing me, saying that she wanted to get back together with
Right,
me.
and how much did she give you in the middle of the night?
She never gave me anything in the middle.
Well, then why did you say she did? Why did you swear to the fact that she did?
I didn't.
Listen, when did he tell you he was married?
He told me he was married probably 2 weeks after we met. The first time we met, he said that he was single.
2 weeks, but you gave him this money well after the 2 weeks.
Right.
So what were you doing? What was in your mind?
I loved him. I wanted to help him. I know. I know.
What do you want from me? Did he go back to his wife?
Yes, he did. Yeah. He did. He went back to his wife, and I have a broken heart. So, there you have it.
A broken heart and a depleted bank account.
That's correct, ma'am.
And the only money you're going to get from him is the $1,600.
Ma'am, I have him on tape.
That said what?
That says he owes me the money.
Oh, good. I want to see how much
it?
does he say he owes you.
Maybe
that'll help me.
He doesn't say how much, but he does admit to it. Can I play it?
Sure.
I don't know why you're not answering your phone, but I'm just calling to let you know that I told you I would try to pay you your money whenever possible. I've been having a lot of problems with a lot of stuff. My work cut my hours, and not making as much as I thought I was. So just to let you know, I haven't been visiting you. I have not been trying to ignore you. I've just been busier than cat covering dog busy. And, as soon as I can get any money that's extra, I will give to you. I don't have a problem with that. And, for what it's worth, I am sorry for not trying to pay off anything sooner. But like I said, I've had problems. I hope you understand that I do have other responsibilities too, just like you or anybody else. But I'm trying the best I can do, and that's all I can say. As far as you want to sue me, then it's
Blah, 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 blah. Turn it off. So?
That wasn't about this, Your Honor. That was
What
about
was it
something
about?
completely different.
Well, tell me what it's about.
She had bought me some cigarettes, and she was mad because she was broke one weekend.
This is about a carton of cigarettes?
It's about a couple $100 in cigarettes, yeah.
Is that in addition to the $1,600 she gave you?
She had bought me on her own.
There's no such word as boughten.
She had bought.
That's better.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that in addition to the $1,600 she gave you?
No, it's not.
So that's included in the $1,600?
Yes, it is.
He doesn't understand.
I'm sorry.
Did you go to school in this country?
Yes, I did.
She gave you $1,600. You say that this is about something else, about other money that you owed her, and it was about cigarettes, because it says here, I'll pay you back as soon as I can. I have other expenses. So this is not part of the $1,600.
I never owed her $1,600 in the first place.
That's my decision, sir. That's my decision as to whether or not you owe her $1,600.
I owed her roughly $200 in cigarettes.
What did you get $200 in cigarettes for?
Just without the time that we were together. That's, what she had bought for me, when we were together.
Now I'd like to hear about your counterclaim.
Pardon?
Counterclaim! You filed a counterclaim, sir.
During the whole time after, I left her, she was constantly harassing me and my wife, calling me at work.
Tell me how she was doing that, sir.
She was calling my work out, all the time. She had her roommate's boyfriend call me up at work, asking me questions why I left her, and...
Anybody asking you about money?
No. Never.
That's a lie,
I
Your
didn't
Honor.
hear anything about any money until a month and a half, almost, after I had left her.
Yes, and what happened a month and a half?
She sent me a letter demanding that, I was committing, I believe, fraud, and that
May I see the
owed
copy of the
her
letter?
Do you want one copy or all three that I
over
sent to him?
I'd like to see all three.
$4,000.
And that's the receipt on top.
Don't get crazed with these little Post-its.
Just trying to be prepared.
I'm interested in something, Ms. Laughlin.
Yes.
You say in these letters that he owes you $4,200, and you're suing him for $5,000. Why?
There has been charges that have incurred since that time. I've just added on the interest as...
You had never had an agreement with him with regard to repayment.
We did have an agreement when he was saying that we had agreed to go. I went to the bank and just decided to get the money that day. That night before, he stayed at my house, and we had decided I would obtain the money to loan him.
How much money did you take out of the bank at that time? Was it $1,600 or $2,000?
$2,060.
That was the $2,060
That's
amount.
correct, ma'am.
Right.
We had made that agreement. I did give him $1,600 for his wallet so that we could go around town and pay his various bills.
And your counterclaim, your counterclaim is for this harassment that she
Right.
keeps calling you.
That's correct.
She called your wife. Were you present when she called your wife?
I was not.
What did she say
My
to you
wife
when
had
she
told
called
me
you?
that she had followed her
I'm
twice.
not interested in what your wife told you. That's hearsay. I would like you to tell me what she said to you to harass you.
Just that she would do anything and everything to get her money. And, before she even, pursued me with any money, she was telling me and my wife that she would do anything and everything to get me back in the first place, that she loved me, and she didn't care what it took.
Listen, because she has bad taste, I can't hold that against her, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,060, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She just wanted to get me back. She's jealous that I went back to my wife.
I believe the judge realized that he's a liar.
Be careful who you date.
Don't ever get involved with a married man.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Matsko versus Davila, step forward, please.
Painter Rich Matsko is suing ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old school teacher Julianne Davila, for breaking an apartment lease.
Mr. Matsko, you and the defendant dated for a while. Then, according to your complaints, you were going to move in together. In order for you to do that, she had to break her lease.
Yes.
And also do a pet deposit where you were living?
No, where she was living.
Where she was living?
Yeah.
And the whole thing came to about $2,600. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, she moved in, didn't last. She moved out. You say that this money was a loan, and you want your money back, right?
Yes.
You say he wanted you to move in with him?
Yes.
You had a lease?
Yes.
He said, break it. Let me see if I...
This is for copyrighted video, copyright video. So I can change anything after this upload, and I am in hostel right now. I almost done my work, office work, and I am going to namaz in a masjid. The masjid has been little bit far from my hostel. That's called I wanna move to my home because hostel expenses are more for me and this kind of little job. But I will discuss this to my brother
today and get the information about internet expenses and many more things. Inshallah, Allah will help me in this stage, and this is a very tough time for me because I am because I don't have much money to afford my expenses.